Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me again, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there is no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me. Excited to be back. Not had a podcast for like a week.
I'm as giddy as a schoolgirl, Grumpy. I'm excited. Islanders hockey in full swing, the preseason in full swing as well, grumpy old man.
Yeah, 3 games have been played since last we spoke.
There is a lot that has taken place since last we spoke. But before we get too hot and heavy deep into the Islanders talk, remember, guys, we have this podcast every single Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every single Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the best way to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action is by subscribing on YouTube, liking on Facebook, as well following on Twitter.
Now, TJ, are you able to post this up on Facebook today? You said you didn't know if you're going to be able to.
Yes, I believe no hitches at all, grumpy old man. And also,
we have some Facebook friends,
that
Isles Misery rated R.
Okay, grumpy. Yeah, absolutely. And always make sure to check out the sports podcast we have as well, TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. That occurs on every single Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Big game tomorrow night in the NFL.
Yep, that link is in the description below, Grumpy Old Man, so you can find that as well. That being said, Grump, a lot has happened since our last podcast.
I've missed talking to our friends.
I've missed talking. Everybody have missed being on the podcast. Hey, it's good to have a little bit of a week to recharge, get ready for the regular season, getting ready back for action. Grumpy old man coming at it full steam ahead.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm geeked up. I'm ready for the season to start now.
I want to start off by asking you again, because preseason's young, only 3
games.
Games.
Positive right now, too. Super positive.
Super positive. I'll always mention this. Preseason, take everything with a grain of salt. These are not NHL rosters you're seeing out on both sides of the ice. So I will preface the conversation with that. That being said, Grump, I want to get your take. Who has really been a big surprise for you so far this preseason? Who has looked good for you this preseason?
Well, I find it interesting that you said, we got to take it with a grain of salt, but our first string couldn't beat the Devils today. The little scrub squad they put out there, we couldn't beat them.
Stop.
Who's the only guy who scored for us? What was his name?
I think his name was Kiefer Bellows, Grump.
Oh, yeah. Put him with Matt Barzal. What do you know he scores? I don't know. Something, I was thinking something today. What's the difference between Anders Lee and Kiefer Bellows? One guy can skate, and makes about $6.5 million less than the other guy. Other than that, I don't see a difference.
Okay. Okay, Grumpy. Anders Lee is a better player than Kiefer Bellows is. I get what you're trying to do. I get the point you're trying to make. I like the way Kiefer Bellows played today. And this is also something that's worth mentioning. People, I get messages, oh, Kiefer looks like this. Kiefer looked horrible. But, Oliver or Otto Koivu looked horrible. I get a litany of all those type of messages. Certain guys look great. It also depends a lot on who they're playing with. We always mention this, like when Bellows did have his chance there with Matt Barzal, he excelled. Kiefer Bellows is what he is. He's not a guy who's an elite skater. He's not a guy who's an elite defenseman. There's a lot of things Kiefer Bellows is. There's a lot of things Kiefer Bellows is not. One thing Kiefer Bellows is, he's a guy who likes to shoot the puck a lot. He's a guy who uses his body, and he's a guy who, he makes his living on putting the puck in the net. So I'm not expecting too much out of that. What are you scratching your head for, bro?
Who does that sound like? Who does that sound like? But he makes $6 million a year less than that. Who does that sound like? Average. It sounds like average Andrews to me.
No, it doesn't.
That's exactly what it sounds like, except a younger, cheaper model. That's all.
He's not an average Andrews.
He's probably better. You're right. He's above average Kiefer.
Well,
he's killer Kiefer.
Killer Kiefer. Oh, goodness gracious. But come on. I mean, Lee does a lot more better than Kiefer Bellows does.
I don't believe he does.
Not saying that Kiefer Bellows can't grow into it. Come on, Grump.
I don't believe he does. The problem with the Islanders is they want Kiefer Bellows to be a third wing grinder. He's not. He's a top 6 player.
I do agree with that, though, right? When you're talking about that, when you're trying to fit pieces into roles that they're not accustomed to or they won't succeed in, number one, it's going to lead to poor performance on the ice, and the player's going to struggle as well as the team's going to struggle with that.
If the Islanders are expecting Kiefer Bellows to be a defensive back checker, he's going to fail here. Okay, he's a goal scorer. Same reason I don't want Oliver Wahlstrom wallowing around on the third line. Don't want it. Goal scorers have to be on the top 2 lines. Period. The 2 scoring lines. You hope that the third line can kick in some goals, but if you want to optimize the young talent we have on this team, place them in positions where they have a chance to succeed based on their skill set. It's always a thing that's driving me. It drives me crazy, honestly. It really does. What Barry should do is tailor make his lineup and wherever his players play based on their skill set. Don't just try to once again jam the square peg into that round hole.
Why are we hitting on this? I asked who's a good performer, and here we are, and you freaking managed to divert it away to the same point you like to hit all the time. I'm asking you a simple question. Who's performed well so far? That's all I want to hear, Grump. I want to hear who's performing well so far. So you think Kiefer Bellows is performing well, though?
I thought he performed well with Matt Barzal today.
Yeah. I mean, hey, they had 2 of those 2-on-1 odd man breaks going in the in our favor, and one of them he was able to convert on, one of them he was not. That being said, I mean, Matt Barzal, I think worth taking with a grain of salt. I mean, this was not the Devils starting lineup out there tonight for certain, and I thought he looked good. I thought Matt Barzal looked good. I thought a lot of players on the ice looked good for the Islanders. Someone that is getting a little bit of I would say. Reminder that he needs to produce a little more right now is Oliver Wahlstrom, is what I see.
Well, but he's another guy who, he's not a third line player. I just don't, like I said, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. No shot, absolutely zero shot of playing on the first line, which is where he should be. A sniper should be playing with Matt Barzal. Period. End of sentence, end of story. Let the F- play on the third line with his old pal Parise. And, Pajot. Let him play down there. We pay everybody on that bottom line $5 million a year anyway. What's the difference if it's another guy? I just don't want to go into the season with the same cookie cutter lineup that we have year after year. It's not successful.
Okay, Grumpy. Again, here we are. I want you. We're gonna challenge you today. We're gonna talk about things, and I don't want you to be a yellow canary and repeat the same exact words that always come out of your mouth. I'm gonna challenge you. We're gonna challenge Grumpy Old Man a little more today, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to talk about items and don't hit on the same exact 3 talking points that you hit on every single podcast. Well,
Well,
it's gonna be a challenge for you, Grump. I know
okay.
it is.
Okay, when I'm talking about the Islanders, until they fix the things that they're supposed to fix, I'm going to continue to hammer the team.
It's not about hammering the team. It's not about hitting on the same points. All I want to do is we're going to take this and steer it in a different direction. Season hasn't even started yet. I want to look at what is going on bit by bit, player by player. Oliver Wahlstrom has had chances. He hasn't looked great so far. But again, it's no what I'm trying to get at is it's no reason for concern. Right? Some people are out there saying, "Oh, Oliver Wahlstrom needs to do this. He needs to do that." It's no reason for concern out there on the ice right now with Oliver Wahlstrom. Again, he's a guy where we know the talent's there. We know the level he has is that of a top six forward, and if given a chance, he will perform.
Okay. You want to know who's looked good so far? I guess Robin Salo's not perfect, but he's shown ability. Is he going to make the roster? No. I mean, that's the problem I have. They're going to make sure that Gustafsson is going to make that. He'll be your seventh defenseman. I'm going to guarantee it. Why? Because he's a vet. I mean, those are just facts. Kiefer Bellows, no shot. I don't care if he would score 5 goals a game in the preseason. He has no shot of playing. None. Oliver Wahlstrom, let's see if he plays on opening night. Or let's see if he puts Leo Komarov in. Let's see what happens. I'm interested.
What makes you think that we might see Leo Komarov, Grumpy?
Because Barry's already putting out, he's already talking garbage about Oliver Wahlstrom. How he needs to get better. You know what? There's a lot of guys on this team that need to get better. Not just the young guys. How about the old guys? Komarov can't even play anymore. But you never hear him ripping him. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I don't want to hear him ripping the young guys. It drives me crazy.
Slow, grumpy old man. We're going to go slowly into it. I don't want you jumping all over the place like you like to do.
I'm in mid-season form already.
Yeah, mid-season form already. All righty. So we think, again, I look at it like this. I think Barry has been overly harsh of Oliver Wahlstrom, seeming that we are 3 games into the preseason. I will say, I think he's been a little harsh of him, out there in the press. But here's the thing. He's always extremely harsh of younger players. It's just how he is. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's just who Barry Trotz is.
Well, maybe we need a change.
Need a change from what?
I want some positivity out of Barry. With the young guys. I'd love to see him shred one of the vets in the press once. Just once.
Okay, why would he? Again, I'll look at it like this. I don't understand why he's being overly critical of anybody at this time period. We're in preseason. This is look at it like this, right? Imagine it's like you're running a marathon. That's what the NHL season is. 82 game season. First time we're going to have that in 2 years, ladies and gentlemen. It's like running a marathon. Right now, what we're doing is we are warming up. We're not even, we're getting, hey, we're jumping. Imagine if like that, you're running a marathon, you're stretching beforehand, you're doing a quick little jog, you're stretching your hamstrings, you're doing some dynamic warm-ups, you are stretching. That is what the preseason is. When you get started in regular season, that's when it's time to go. So hey, ideally you'd like production out of these guys. But hey, we're warming up right now. It's preseason hockey.
Yeah.
We're talking about practice here, Grump.
Yeah. I thought Noah Dobson looked good against Philadelphia.
Fantastic. Really I thought Noah Dobson looked fantastic. And I'm talking about certain instances where he jumped up in the offensive play and really helped go ahead and supplement offense. Was able to read across the ice. He looked excellent. This is the Noah Dobson I wanted to see, and I want to see him continue to grow into being. Noah Dobson, I thought, looked excellent there against Philly.
Here's the thing. You could have seen that last year from Noah Dobson, but Barry put the shackles on him. And it's only now because
I think it was COVID. Let's be honest.
Okay. No, he was playing third pairing minutes last year. Here's the thing.
Hold on. I'm talking about for that one before I let you get to your point. He looked good before he got COVID. Excellent before he got COVID. Once he got COVID, he came back. He didn't look as strong, and then it took him slowly to get reintegrated back in. That's what.
But his minutes were still limited with Andy Green as the third pair because he just didn't want to take. He just didn't want to take the manacles off. He just didn't want to. Now he's forced to. And now you're seeing what Noah Dobson could do. And that's the thing. The kid was ready last year in the beginning of the year. You could tell until COVID. He was really, really good. Wouldn't take off the handcuffs, right? Now he's forced to and he does it and the kid performs. We could have had this Noah Dobson last year. That's my whole thing. You play the young guys. You take off the handcuffs. The team is better. It's a better
Wash,
team in
rinse,
the
and
long run.
repeat, Grumpy. We're going bit by bit, Grump. I'm not asking for you to hit the same talking points. It's like you're a politician. I'm
Okay.
asking you certain questions. I don't need you to keep hitting on the same freaking points. I'm asking you questions. We're just having a dialogue going on.
I'm answering your questions.
And then you're answering my questions and you say, well, this is it's like I'm feeling like I'm talking to a politician.
Because here's the thing. These are the things that you're seeing out of Noah Dobson now. I've been preaching for him to do for over a year now. And Barry just wouldn't do it. Who else looked good against Philadelphia? I thought Bavilier looked really good.
I thought Pavilia has looked good. I thought
Yeah.
Pavilia has looked very good. There's no doubt about that. I think he's looked good. I mean, that's a guy where I've got high hopes for him. He's a guy who you'd like to see him this year be able to knock off a little bit of the inconsistency that he has. Some guys are always going to be wildly inconsistent. That's the way that I think Pavillier is trending. When he's hot, he is like hot like magma. When he's cold as ice.
Yeah, I just think most players aren't super consistent every night. They're called Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Those guys put up big numbers every night. Anthony Beauvillier is what he is. And you know what? You're going to have to live with a little bit of that streakiness. But the fact that he's playing extremely well right off the jump this preseason bodes well for the second line because as he goes, the other two guys go. Nelson and Bailey absolutely benefit from a really good Anthony Beauvillier.
That for certain they do. The one thing that I did find funny, though, and again, we're talking about the entire Oliver Wahlstrom. I mean, there are, again, rumblings. There are people saying and speculating that, Oliver Wahlstrom might legitimately start off in Bridgeport if he doesn't get these items and kinks worked out of his game. Now, that would be a monumental blunder. That would be mind-boggling for me too, unless he's trying to do the same exact thing he did with Anthony Beauvillier that he did in past, right? When Anthony Beauvillier had a slow start to the season, sent him down to Bridgeport, brought him back up after about, I can't remember how long of a stint it was, maybe about 3 or 4 games, came back up, fired up, and played extremely well the second half of the season. I'm not sure if he thinks, hey, I could just plug this same exact formula in with Oliver Wahlstrom and it's going to work. I'm not sure, but I think that if he were to start off in Bridgeport, which is what some people are suggesting and rumors are flying around because he hasn't been having the best camp so far per Barry Trotz. Now that I think is a little foolish.
Okay. See, I know you don't like me to say it, but every player is not the same. Every personality is not the same. You have to treat people different by knowing what pushes their buttons. I don't know if that pushes Oliver Wahlstrom's buttons. I have no idea. But you as a former player, let's say you came into training camp and you busted your butt and you were playing extremely well last year, got injured at the end, you got healthy, you didn't play like Wahlstrom did. Then you come in and automatically, before anything happens, the coach tell you, okay, you're backup. I don't care what you show out there. You're
I'm third string. I'm third line.
Right. And we're going to put some other guy. He's just going to be first. There's no competition for you. This is where you're pigeonholed to where you're going to be. How is a player, and like I said, they're all different, but how would that make you feel as a former player?
It doesn't make you feel great. Now, again, you mentioned that, hey, not everybody reacts the same. That's right. We have no idea what type of carrot that, whether he needs the stick or the carrot for Oliver Wahlstrom. We have no earthly idea. So, we've always talked about this. You have no idea, what motivates and drives a player. That's something that, really as a coach, I think that is what makes them outstanding. If you can identify what motivates players and making sure that you can get the most out of them and utilizing that and allowing your team to flourish, that's always hugely important. No doubt about it, Grump. And again, I'm going to read the quote from Barry Trotz here, Grumpy Old Man, just so everybody has that here for us too. And again, the key from him, and now this is talking about Oliver Wahlstrom. Ooh, zoomed in a little much. The key for him is where he made big strides last year was moving his feet and participating in the game rather than watching the game. Trotz said that probably the self-awareness. We've had these talks and discussions. I could go to Wally after his last game and ask, "How did you play?" And he'd go, "Not very well." he would recognize it. Where I would ask the same question last year, and he would have went, "Well, I thought it was pretty good." There's a better self recognition, and I think he's taking care of himself and trained differently this summer. He's converting over to a complete pro, but people are worried again, grumpy old man, that he might be, in the possibility of starting off in Bridgeport.
What is it? That's an organizational problem. Best players should play. And I'm going to say one thing. I think we can all agree on this. Oliver Wahlstrom is not a third wing back checker. It's not what he is. He's a goal scorer. It's like taking Pavel Bure and trying to turn him into a back checker. That's not his skill set. I just can't get past that. It's a real struggle for me getting past that. We take guys who have offensive ability and we want to turn them into grinders. I'm sorry. I need guys who can put the puck in the net. We're one of the weakest teams in the league scoring goals, and we have guys who are capable of it, but we just won't play them. I just consider that moronic myself. And the kid has a shot. Give him a shot on the first line. Give him a shot on the second line. Put Bailey down at third. You want somebody to back check? Put that useless dog Bailey on the third line.
Well, Bailey hasn't even been playing this preseason, I don't think, or he's had limited action. No, he wasn't.
We've been winning games. Makes sense now.
Oh, stop. Again, I'll be honest with you. I only got to watch, today's game and some of the game against Philly. Been in and out, but this preseason's felt different for me. The preseasons in the past, I go in and I think to myself, all right, this guy might have a chance. This might have a chance of making the team. This is a player that, I'm looking for, mid-season. He can come into stride. He might have a chance. This team is already set in stone. And that's why I feel like a lot of Islander fans are like, all right, let's just hit fast forward over the preseason because we know exactly what the lineup's going to be. There's no mystique about it. There is nobody really fighting for a position, as you mentioned. I've always believed, hey, competition always breeds, the best product and result out there on the ice. When you say, hey, we're preordaining every single player as a starter, it's good for consistency purposes. That certainly it is. But again, those younger players who are vying for spots, they kind of think to themselves, oh shit, well, I don't really have a chance. And I will be interested to see, how Kiefer Bellows continues to perform and produce out there on the ice if given the chance on the first line, or if next game we're going to see him in a bottom six role again.
It doesn't matter how he performs. Doesn't matter. He's not going to be playing for this team. Does not matter. He could go, like I said, he go out there, score 5 goals a game. He still is not playing for this team because that's not what they do. And you said this year it's starting to dawn on you. That's been the whole Trotz era. That lineup has been set in stone before the season even starts. Every single year, that lineup is set in stone. I told you what this lineup was going to be in the offseason. I told you what it was going to be last year. We don't even need training camp. Just let our guys skate around circles. We know who's playing. We know who's not.
Okay. Yeah. Well, speaking about how players perform in training camp and in preseason, I don't know if you happen to have been keeping up. This might make some Islander fans happy, some not. Hey, we wish Josh Hosang a great amount of success. We have nothing but positive and well wishes for Josh Hosang. Playing, his first PTO, the first game he played against Montreal, I think it was a few days back ago, was excellent. 3 assists there, played on the first line, played with John Tavares, grumpy old man. Looked fantastic. Had a breakaway opportunity. I know he was saved, but he had 3 assists, and he looked excellent out there on the ice. And I think that the post-game interview was kind of telling from him. And again, this just the narrative that we try to propagate, the narrative that we talk about on a consistent basis is sometimes these players feel dejected and they feel like they don't have a chance. They kind of feel down in the dumps. It could really ruin, any type of libido they have of getting out there on the ice. Now, I want you to listen.
Libido?
Yes, Grumpy.
Libido? Is that one of those trying to use a big word in the wrong way again?
No, it's not in the wrong way. Anyway.
I look at libido as something else. I don't know.
Okay, Grump, we'll let you listen here to this clip here from Josh Hosang after this. And again, I think there's one portion that I think you and I are immediately going to be like, an eye-raising moment, Grump. But let me go ahead and play this.
I'm so grateful to Kyle Dubas and Sheldon Keefe for giving me this opportunity. I can't thank them enough for everything that they've done for me from the first day that I walked in. They've been so kind and open, and they really wanted to get to know me, which, a lot of teams didn't want to do. And I.
Oh, Grumpy, I'll hit stop right there. We're halfway through the clip. What do you think that means, Grump? They
It's
wanted to get
exactly
me.
what I've been saying.
They wanted to get me. They wanted to get to know me. That a lot of teams really haven't taken the time to do so yet.
And he's only been with one other team. It's just like, I'll never forget it. Well, he's looked good. A lot of people say things about him. We haven't seen it, but we're going to send him down so we can work on those things. What, Lou? What, Barry? What does it say? He had no shot playing here. Why didn't you move him? Why didn't you just cut him loose? They punish their younger. I swear it's like they punish players that they don't like by letting this kid go where they had no options on him instead of trying to move him or, heaven forbid, actually try to play him. I mean, I hope the kid lights it up. And you know what? I hope he burns us something fierce. Why? Not because I want the Islanders to lose, because it proves me right, which is really more important.
Here's the thing. I don't hope he burns us up. I hope this guy's successful. I hope this guy's given a chance. And think about it. Toronto's a team that doesn't need any more additional offense. So you think about, his chances to make the Maple Leafs, out of a PTO out of camp. He's got to be really something special. But I did think that portion was very interesting, saying they wanted to take the chance and time to get to know me, which I feel like other organizations haven't done in the past. So that tells you immediately what his perception was of the Islanders organization and whether they, really wanted to get to understand what his point of view and where he was coming from. Here's the thing, right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever his thought process, Josh Hosang's thought process is, it may be completely wrong with the Islanders. I will definitely concede that. That being said, sometimes players just want to feel like their opinions are being heard. And whether Kyle Dubas and whether the Maple Leafs organization actually is taking in those items into account, who the hell knows? But you know what? We can't say one thing for certain. The Maple Leafs have at least made his opinion feel like it's valued. And, when you have people in your organization that don't feel like, hey, what their input is being understood and being taken into account, it's easy to feel dejected. So again, with Josh Osang, I wish him nothing but success, and it'll be interesting to see. I think they play again Monday. I mean, this is a guy who's got a lot to prove during his, PTO for the Maple Leafs, 3 assists in the first game he played there, again, on the first line with John Tavares. It wasn't like they threw him on a bottom 6 role. They said, hey, let's see what you can do out there, on a top 6 role out here with John Tavares. And he performed.
Like I said,
I mean, it wasn't like he was playing with John Tavares the entire night. He did take some shifts with John Tavares. Now, let me rephrase that.
Okay, but it's the same thing. We send him down to the minors. We play him on the 4th line. What is that accomplishing? What is it saying to him? He was the most offensively gifted player down in Bridgeport, and they put him on the 4th line. I mean, it's like punishment. They punish the young players. Right. I don't understand it. Your mindset should be that we want to get the most out of you. If your skill set is a creator, which we desperately need on this team, why would you not try to enhance that role?
All righty, Grumpy. Let's go ahead and get back to the clip. Hold
on. So you can talk for 5 minutes after the start of the clip. I get 15 seconds and you're cutting me off.
It's the same thing, Grump. You mentioned the same things over and over again.
But here's the thing: I'm more succinct than when you things like libido, which makes no sense in this conversation.
Okay, no. I just want to get back to the clip. I don't want to hammer the hell out of this. I just wanted to bring it up because I knew this proves what you've been talking about. Correct. I don't need too much out of it, Grump. I'm already setting it up for you, Grumpy. I'm already telling you, hey, what essentially we've talked about, what you've talked about is correct, Grump. And this is just another man that's saying that and proving what our hypothesis was correct. When people call us crazy, how dare you think that, somebody being buried in the A doesn't go ahead and, ruin their optimism, ruin, the drive that they have and they put out there on the ice. He's just saying that exact same thing. So that's all I'm showing this clip for, Grump. I don't want to take any time out of it.
You realize that your summation of what I was just trying to say took longer than it took for me to say it. And you cut me off.
Grump, I might need to go on vacation again.
Let's go. Roll it.
I might need to take another vacation.
Roll it.
I think that speaks to the management here and the type of people that are running this organization, that just so kind and they want to win and they want to help understand each of their players. And I think that's so huge for an organization moving forward. For everyone, they should look to mirror that.
So, I think that speaks highly. Obviously, the Toronto Maple Leafs not so highly of the New York
Well,
Islanders.
let's be honest. The Islanders could give two craps about the young players. They don't care about them. They do not care about them. It's vets and vets alone. You want to know who's looked like garbage? Our former first-round pick, Simon Casper Holmstrom. Garbage. He's a
you
garbage
want
player.
to hear the crazy thing? I was reading articles just yesterday talking about how Simon Holmstrom, we need to remember, guys, Simon Holmstrom's young. So what we're seeing out there now, he's still got a lot to improve on. He's young, guys. Watch out. He's still working on it.
I'm old. You know what? I should be playing for the Islanders. He sucks. He sucks. He's a bust with a capital B.
I did find it I did find it odd though, grumpy old man, that was out there. That I'm already reading articles about, hey, we need to make sure that we understand as fans that Simon Holmstrom's just younger than a lot of those other players out there. And
Here's
it's
the thing.
going to take him time to improve.
What I predict, here's my next prediction, Grump's prediction. You're going to see all the draft picks that Lou and his staff have put in place. I don't consider Wallstrom one of those. He came in very late in that process. Everyone else, you're going to see those guys get pushed, and the other guys are going to find some way to dump them. You see it in the press. You see how they treat the players who are drafted by other regimes. You see it. They treat them like garbage, but they're guys, ooh, we're going to pump them up to the press. I don't know. I just don't like it. I just don't like it. Just be honest. Just be honest for once.
Yeah. And again, and here's because I didn't think Simon Holmstrom looked all that impressive, in his limited time that we've seen him. But again, here we go, Barry Trotz saying, I will be honest with you guys. This is probably just coach speak. So I'm not taking this at face value. I'm just saying this is the same exact thing he'd say about anybody. But Oliver Wahlstrom, he speaks negatively of because he really expects him to fill the role. He's been unhappy with performance, so that's why he's kind of poo-pooing him in the press. Never been a fan of poo-pooing anybody in the press, especially young players like that. But Barry Trotz says he has been impressed with Simon Holmstrom and the staff. Must remind itself he's only 20 years old. I think he's comfortable. He's getting his strength. He's been injury-free for a while now. I think that helps him in his confidence, and you're seeing a maturity in his game.
That kid blows. Ugh. That's being generous. He sucks. He is Josh Bailey 2.0, another piece of garbage that they're going to jam into the lineup. They want him to play. Why? Because Lou drafted him. Well, you watch. He's a guy we're going to pump him up and press with Simon Holmstrom. Why? Does he get you drinks at the end of the night? I mean, what's this get done impressive? Certainly nothing on the ice. I mean, he sucks. He sucks.
Oh, well, thank you, Grump.
You know what? You know what you don't see from him? You don't see him playing on the fourth line in Bridgeport. You don't see that. Like they did with Josh Hosang.
And
see that.
And speaking of players who lose favor with the club and the organization, there was something that popped up, something that happened as the players reported to camp, or as most of the Islanders reported the camp out of the organization, and there's one individual who did not report to camp. Now, you have to broach this conversation very tactfully, Grumpy, or at least I'm going to try to.
You do whatever you want. I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Okay, Grumpy. Well, I'm glad to hear you're in full form. That being said, Bodie Wild was the lone player in the organization that did not receive his COVID-19 vaccine. And he was sent off to, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this. He was sent off on a loan there to the Swedish Elite League, not even the Swedish Elite League, the step below the Swedish Elite League.
He was sent to Siberia in the gulag. Punishment. You don't get the, and here's the thing. I believe in vaccinations.
I was about to say, and this is the important thing. Grump and I are both vaccinated. We got it because we believe it helps. I'm not going to tell somebody else that they should or should not get vaccinated. Yeah, it's your choice.
Unless it's a league mandate or something you can't mandate because you can't get it past CBA. If someone's not vaccinated, well, you should test them every day or whatever you do. But to say that you're not vaccinated, and here's the thing. It's not that he didn't report to camp. He was told, we don't want you here. That's what he was told. We don't want you. Here's the thing. Bodie Wild will never play for the Islanders. Never. Okay. Never freaking ever. Move him now. That's a prediction from me right now. He will never play for the Islanders. Why? Because he didn't toe the company line. It's just that plain and simple. So they're going to punish him by shipping him overseas. That's punishment.
Well, I don't think that's punishment. They just said, I think they came out and they said,
Punishment.
hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make it mandatory there that everybody has their vaccine. If not, you're not allowed to play with organization, not allowed to play in Bridgeport, not allowed to play for the Islanders. Now, here's the thing. Talking about development for the player, I will say one thing, Grump. He went on social media, and here's the thing. When the social media firestorm is coming at you, this is something hopefully Bodie Wild learns. Just sit there and don't do anything. He's trying to battle with people online. That is never a recipe for success. I'll also say this. Again, we're both vaccinated. I'm not going to tell somebody else what they should and should not do. I'm happy protecting myself the way I see fit. They can do whatever they see fit. I'm not going to tell somebody else to do what they've got to do. Now, the NHL is one of those leagues to where I think they're one of the few professional sports leagues that are saying, hey, we're taking a really strict stance. I know the NBA is saying, hey, you have your choice to do so. The NFL is doing the same. Again, they have different, rules in place in order to keep players safe with the way they see fit. And the NHL, you're seeing some players. It's not just Bodie Wild. You're seeing a lot of players who did not receive camp invitations that are on NHL contracts that you're just kind of left scratching your head on. And I think the difference is because a lot of those Canadian teams will not allow them to play unless they're vaccinated. So I don't know if that also had an impact on that. Again, it's going to be interesting to see how this all settles because COVID's never going to go anywhere. It's going to be here for the rest of our lives. How are we going to manage it? How's the league going to respond to it? But I think you are right. This kid under this regime will never get a chance. If he has any value, trade him now.
No shot. It's punishment. And I'll tell you what. Like I said, I'm vaccinated. I believe in vaccinations. But I don't like to see people who don't get vaccinated be vilified like somehow they're criminals. I'm sorry. It's a personal choice. I believe there is still freedom in this country in some pockets, I guess. But if somebody doesn't want to get vaccinated, that's a personal choice. I mean, you shouldn't be where you can't work or you can't ply your trade because you don't get a vaccination. I just think there's something wrong with that. And he's not the only guy. Columbus signed somebody in the offseason. And, I mean, I think a 1 or 2 year deal. I think his name is Ronaldo, R-I-A-L.
Yeah. Zach Ronaldo.
That's it. And, I mean, they're going to have to pay off his deal.
They're going to pay him. They're going to pay him his AHL salary, but he will not be able to play for the Blue Jackets or its affiliate.
I mean, first of all, there's nothing in the players' agreement that says they have to be vaccinated. See, you're on a slippery slope there. I mean, you really are, because legally you can't ask them to do it.
Well, think about this too, right? You look at and again, here's the thing. You're seeing players like Duncan Keith speaking out saying he's frustrated that he had to get vaccinated. Again, he didn't, maybe he didn't want to, felt like he wasn't ready to get vaccinated. Who the heck knows? I've always believed that you give people the information and they're going to be able to make an informed decision by their own. And if you force some people and let's say they're hesitant, you say, hey, you have to do this, you have to do that. I think it either does one or two things. When you hit a dog, either it's going to whimper or it's going to fight you back. And again, some dogs will fight you back. Some dogs will whimper. Just depends. So, you got some of the people who are like, hey, I'm forced to go ahead and do this. Now I have to do it. Duncan Keith is a guy. Hey, you got to get vaccinated in order to play. Okay, now I'm frustrated. I had to do it. Just had to whimper and get my shot. Other people are going to say, no, I'm going to stand my ground. It's just how it is. I mean, if you give them the information, I believe they're going to be able to make an informed decision that, yes, this is the right way, or no, this is not the right way. But you're seeing a lot of those NHLers are coming out and saying, I wish I didn't have to. And again, it's not a whole bunch, but it's more than none. And again, this is the only sports league, I think, where they're really laying the law down on that. You're seeing NBA players are saying, no, I didn't want to go ahead and do that. These are my reasons why. And, the press tries to ask them and beat them down with these questions. But, people have their choices, I believe.
Yeah, it depends on who you are, who gets beat down with the questions, honestly. But let me ask you a question. If you're a player who feels that you've been forced to do something you don't want to do, are you going to get max performance out of them? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say you're not going to. They're going to say, you know what? I'm a little bit hurt. I'm taking tonight off. I'm too injured to play. Because you know what? That's just human nature. When you try to force something on somebody, you're not going to get the best out of them. You're not. They're going to look and say, you know what? And here's the thing. Once again, I'm a big proponent of vaccines, but I still don't feel I have the right to tell someone else what they should do with their lives. I just don't believe in that. And I'm like I said, I'm going to tell you again. Let's say Duncan Keith comes up with a little injury. You know what? I was frustrated getting that vaccine. To himself, he's going, I'm going to sit tonight out. I'm going to sit a couple games out. I'm not feeling right. That's what you wind up seeing. You watch.
Oh, goodness gracious. So, I mean, that obviously happened. And again, I will say this here, whatever belief is, we don't get political on this podcast. We are a hockey podcast. That being said, if Bodie Wild has any sort of value and anybody wants to take him, trade him immediately. Because this is we've seen this beforehand, right? Once you burn favor, once you've gone online and done something and you fought people back online and it doesn't end well for players with the Islanders organization. Anytime someone tries to do something that, is against, the cuff or does something that's not viewed favorably in the eyes of the Islanders, trade him now if he has any value. I don't care if it's a 5th round pick, a 6th round pick, 7th round pick. If he has any value, trade him because we will never see Bodie Wild on this team under the current regime. That just will never happen.
Josh Hosang, Kiefer Bellows, Bodie Wild.
There's
3 right there. Kiefer Bellows, no shot. They could say whatever they want. That kid has 0 chance of contributing to this team. Last year, 3 goals in 4 games, not good enough to sniff the rest of the season.
Think about this too, right? And again, I'll preface this big time with Kiefer Bellows, right? This was against the New Jersey Devils team that was not what we're going to see for their opening night, lineup. That being said, had a few offensive breaks, had a few 2-on-1s, was able to pot one of those in. Leo Komarov playing on the first line had 1 goal with Matt Barzal. Kiefer Bellows, in the limited games he did last year in a top 6 role, had 3 goals in 4 games. Again, paired up with them, this preseason with Matt Barzal, scores a goal first game he's paired up with them. You figured if you wanted your first line to produce some offense, that could have helped. Maybe the defense would have struggled a little bit, but you hope the offense would have outweighed any type of loss on the defensive side of the puck. But, I root nothing but for success for all the players in our organization, but it is always terrible to see, certain players, doesn't matter how well they play, they'll never get a chance. It reminded me, Grumpy, of Ross Johnson. I thought he's looked good this preseason. Yeah. And here's the thing. I've always been a fan of Ross Johnson, even when you date this back to the Doug Weight days. I think that when the team had no heart, he was one of the only guys that had heart, and that speaks something to the character the guy had. That being said, if Matt Martin's healthy, Ross Johnson never receives a chance, but an occasional start here or there if an injury happens. Ross Johnson is a guy who I thought has looked good so far this preseason. And it's always a shame where I see a guy like that who on any other team, I think he'd be a more than serviceable 4th-line guy. And on our team, because we have our 4th line cemented in no matter what happens, doesn't matter if a player could go 25 games without a goal or assist on a 4th line, they're going to say, hey, we're happy with his performance out there on the ice. That Ross Johnson's going to never have a chance.
What's the difference between Matt Martin and Ross Johnston?
There is none.
There is none, except Ross Johnston's more of a physical presence.
Matt Martin kills penalties. That's maybe the other thing I could say. Matt Martin kills penalties and Ross Johnson does not, but half our team kills penalties.
You don't need 10 wingers who can kill penalties. What he brings a physical presence. Teams don't mess around with the Islanders when he's out there. That is a big advantage to have. And here's the thing. He can skate up and down the wing. He can he actually scores because he stays in front of the net and no one tries to take him out from front of the net because they're scared of him. Mm-hmm. It's just that plain and simple. Why did you re-sign him to a 4-year deal when you traded for the $6 million man? Why did you do it? It makes no sense.
Never understood it.
Just dumb management again.
Never understood that portion. That being said, Grumpy, whose birthday it was today?
Wasn't mine, so I don't care.
It was our favorite. It was your favorite, Grumpy. I know you're part of the Josh Bailey fan club. Josh Bailey, 32nd birthday today.
He's useless. He's even more useless today than he was the day before.
Oh, Grumpy.
Josh Bailey.
Josh Bailey is right. Oh, goodness gracious. His 32nd birthday. Another player I wanted to talk about that's getting.
And he's going to be getting better the older he gets, right? He's going to continue to get better in his 30s.
Yeah. That's right, Grumpy.
Yeah.
You have the max of what you saw to Josh Bailey is in the back in the rear view window. That being said, Robin Salo, that was one of the items that we were looking for. He was one of the players that, hey, we got to keep a close eye on, see how he performs in camp. Thought he's looked good. You could tell at times he tries to do a little too much with the puck. That comes from younger players. That comes from a player who, had a larger ice surface to work on, kind of has to get acclimated to a smaller ice surface. I thought he's looked good. I thought that's a guy where I'm excited for his future. I thought he has real great offensive acumen. I think he does a, more than serviceable job on the defensive side of the puck. We always talked about how will his game translate? Will he be a guy that looks like he can play in the NHL for certain? Robin Salo is a guy who will be able to play for the Islanders organization.
But it doesn't matter for this year. Not at all. No shot, zero, of him playing on the big team this year. Do you know how many injuries we'd have to have for him to have a legitimate shot to play? Probably 3. The Gustafsson guy will make the opening night roster. He might not play, but he'll be your 7th defenseman.
You think Eric Gustafsson's going to make the roster?
For certain. Absolutely. Pencil. Matter of fact, you can chisel that one into stone as well. He can't play any defense, but he's a vet. So he will make the lineup. He will make the roster, period. Period.
Can we talk about something else, too? Why the heck? I do not like Thomas Hickey being number 2. I mean, he's changed from number 14 to number 2 immediately after Nicoletti leaves. And the first preseason game I was really looking close for him was today. And I was like, damn, oh, man. I just keep – anytime I see 2, I automatically revert to thinking, oh, Nicoletti. But we're talking about Thomas Hickey out there on the ice now.
I'll tell you what, I disagree with you there because Thomas Hickey absolutely reminds me of number 2.
Why is that? How does he remind you, Grump?
He's number 2. If you can't figure it out, I'm sure some of our listeners.
Oh, I got you. Now, hey, the synopses are firing in my brain, Grumpy.
When I have to explain my comments to you, like I said, you've been taking a little bit too many shots to the melon there, my boy.
Grumpy, I tell you, maybe I'm still on vacation brain. Who the heck knows?
Obviously.
Oh, goodness gracious. But I think Robin Salo has looked like he is going to be one of those players for us that could really contribute for a long time. Still has to work on a few things. I think he made, against Philly, made a few yikes turnovers. That being said, he's going to have some bumps along the road. He's going to have to get ready. That's a guy where ideally you'd like him to play. I'm talking about maybe 20 games max in the A, and then you'd like him to be up there at the NHL roster. You'd like him to be with the Islanders, but that's a guy who's probably going to spend, the majority of the entire season, and the entire season down there in Bridgeport unless injury happens.
He's not coming up here. He's got no shot. And like I said, a young guy like that, he makes a defensive mistake, and you'll hear Barry shred him. Where you got Gustafsson, who doesn't even know what the defensive side of the ice is. And he'll say, well, you know what? He contributes offensively, like Aho, right? Another guy who has shown to me that he can really move the puck. And he has some offensive acuity. And no shot. Doesn't matter. He has no shot of making this team either. Hickey is going to be your number 8. You watch. Those guys are going to get buried in the A. We might even lose them. We might even lose Aho to waivers to somebody.
You think
he doesn't have any options?
You think that we might lose Aho to waivers?
Why not? If I was a team that didn't have a whole lot of defense, Ottawa, I'd snatch him up. Why not?
Remember, there's when you claim a guy like that off the waivers, have to keep him on the NHL roster for the full season. Items like that, So I'm just saying,
to me, he shows he can play.
I think Robin Salo has looked better than Sebastian Aho has. And again, I'll always say this with a grain of salt. It's preseason. These are not starting NHL lineups we're seeing out there on the ice. But I think Salo has looked, I'm thinking about what he can grow into. Salo's got more potential. I think Salo is the better fit than Aho, quite obviously.
I don't know. I think they're similar in their style of play. Salo is a little bit bigger and he's willing to engage physically. I like him. I just don't think he has a shot to make the lineup. That's my whole issue. It doesn't matter. And here's the thing. It doesn't matter how well he played. Chara is going to be playing whenever he can. And Gustafsson will be a guy that they fill in with. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be Mayfield and Green, granite that one in, the top pairing, and Dobson and Chara. And I don't know what they're going to do when Chara has to sit out because Dobson and Gustafsson will not be a good pair. Won't be.
That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on for certain. There is something else I wanted to mention. Now that people are messaging me saying, "Oh boy, Otto Koivula has looked miserable. He's looked garbage. Shouldn't be on the ECHL lineup, roster, etc." I'll say this: Otto Koivula hasn't looked all that impressive. But here's a situation again where you're playing a guy who is more of a finesse type of big man who would excel, with wingers that are more playmakers. And, he's playing with Dimtro Timosov on the third line. So I'm not really sure what you're expecting Otto Koivula to produce. That being said, Otto Koivula will never get a chance. That's a guy where if he had any value, trade him. He's got no value. I mean, you're looking Cole Bardreau as our number 5 center. It's not Otto Koivula. Otto Koivula is destined to be. He'll probably be a guy who maybe stays with the Islanders organization this year, and next year he flies over there. He flies back to Sweden, to Finland to play European hockey. Is probably what's going to happen with that career. And, no idea at all, what it would look like if he was given a chance with, more skilled wingers. That being said, hasn't looked great out there on the ice. Still looks a little slow. Still looks a little aloof out there on the ice. So there's always steps I wanted him to take in the right direction. I don't think he has.
Okay.
I'm just saying that my love for Otto Koivula is, it looks like it's fleeting a little bit. I don't think he's looked all that impressive. That being said, he hasn't been placed with the greatest line mates in the world.
He's another guy who he has no shot of making the team. How does that? Josh Hosang, 0 shot of making the team. When guys never have a chance, you're just playing out the string. That's just the way it is. They have 0 chance of playing. And it's got to be frustrating to a player. It really does. You mentioned big finesse center. Who does that sound like? That piece of garbage who centers the second line, Croc Nelson. Same thing. Same thing. I mean, I'm not saying that Koivula is as good as Brock Nelson, but they're the same player. The same soft. Well, I think Koivula is a little bit more physical than Croc is.
Koivula is, for what you see on the ice for his size, again, he looks soft. He looks soft as Charmin.
Okay.
And I've always wanted him to take a little step forward more physically because the guy's got big stature, afraid to throw a hit. He does certain things well. I think he's got good vision. I think he's got good hands, and he could find guys, hit to make open passes too. But that's it.
But again, it's the same thing though. You have players who realize after a while, I'm never going to play here. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm never playing here. And it has to say, you know what? They're like, you know what? I'm getting paid. I'm just playing out the string till I get to move. That's certainly the case with Hosang. Next, it's going to be the case with Bellows and Koivula. And after that, it'll be Bodie Wild. And I root for guys like that. When you see an organization screw a player over like that, I'm sorry. It's just a mistake. And they keep on re-signing old, cashed, washed up pieces of garbage like Zach Parise, Kyle Palmieri, Zdeno Chara, players of that ilk, Andy Green, finished. Why give a young guy a chance if you can get some old piece of crap who used to be good 15 years ago? Hey, guess what? We don't have the DeLorean. We don't have 1.81 gigawatts to get us from one year to the next. Doesn't happen. I mean, it frustrates me. We could be so much further along as an organization, except we just want to keep on that treadmill to mediocrity.
Okay, we're not mediocre. Let's be honest.
Mediocre. We are mediocre. We are mediocre. We play in a mediocre division, and as soon as we get out of that division, we lose. Period.
And we'll say, I think our division is weak. I mean, I think some divisions are weak out there. I think our division is kind of starting to tail off. That obviously benefits us. You have a few teams that will start coming up, but like we talked about it before, Pittsburgh, I think their fun of the sun is well over. I mean, Malkin's going to be out now. I think we talked about for a little bit. He's going to be out now for like, what did they say, a month or two at least?
And Crosby as well.
Hold on, Crosby's going to be out. I did not see that.
Yeah, wrist injury. So he's going to be out. Malkin's out with the knee. But here's the thing. When they come back, watch out. That means they're probably going to be playing what, 60 games? They'll be fresh.
You want to know the funny thing too about Crosby is, or the funny thing about Pittsburgh is, we're talking about them saying, "Hey, we expect them to kind of tail off a little more this year." They won the division last year, so how much tailing off could you really do?
And Malkin was hurt, most of last year too with the knee injury. half the player he was. And you know what? And then, but everyone thinks, well, the Islanders, oh, these teams are all taking steps back because they're older. We're the oldest team in the freaking league. We're the oldest team in the league, and we just want to get older and older.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, here's the thing. I'm a realist. I'm not, put on my orange and blue glasses. I mean, look at it realistically.
Yeah. And I will say again, like we'll talk about here because we're going to start jumping into the comments.
Yes. Comments.
Jeremy Ford says here, the way Trotz was speaking of Bellows, it sounds like he's not being sent down. I hope he sticks around. I can't see Parise playing 82 games. Johnson or Pjanic can sub in for bottom line injuries.
If you expect Bellows to be a third line player, you're making a mistake. He's not a third line player. Let's put Barzell on the third line too. Let's have him back check all game. It's not his game. It's not his game. Stop jamming square pegs into round holes. The kid is a goal scorer.
Want to talk about real quick. I'm going to leave this thought with you, Grump, and I'll be right back.
Uh-oh.
Now, Atu Ratu, I thought and again, he's back overseas. Not a shock there. Was not making a lineup. But I thought he's a guy who shows promising ability. I like his shot. He's got a quick wrister, and he's got a powerful shot. Now Atu Ratu is a guy that impressed me, for an 18-year-old in the limited time. I think the 2 games that we saw him in, Grump, and I'll be right back with us.
Okay. Atu Ratu, we knew he had no shot of making this team. He's better off going back overseas, I guess. I'd much rather have him in the AHL to play on the 4th line, I guess is what they do. But no, they drafted him, so he'd play high up. He'd probably play with Casper on the 1st line. But I just find it interesting how certain members of the Islanders media cartel will look at him having a really bad turnover that leads to a goal that costs you. And it's well, you know what? But he did this great offensively, where those same clowns will say, no matter how good a Matt Barzell plays, for instance, he took a penalty down in the corner over there, and it could have cost our team. So he's a negative for the night. I hate glad handers like that. The Islanders Inquirer was saying how terrible Wahlstrom has been, and he can still rectify and save his preseason. But you know what? That's not the case either. Whatever Barry says, they just try to parrot it.
How did you get this to Barry when I was just talking about how Atu Ratu had played well? I know you said that he made a mistake in the Islanders media cartel. How are you tying this to the Islanders media cartel? All I'm asking you is to tell me how you thought Atu Ratu has looked. Nothing else, Grump. Hey, Grumpy, I don't need you to repeat in the same exact points there, politician. Politician Grumpy. I just want to hear what you thought about Atu Ratu's performance.
Okay, here's the thing. When you wander away, I'm going to do what I want. I'm not having you trying to Barry Trotz me, keep me in handcuffs. It's not going to work. All right? So here's the thing. How I just trying to tie it in is anything that they hear Barry Trotz say, they'll spin some article to, yes, that's the way it is, Barry. That's the way it is. What, you got a little friend there, I see?
Yeah, I got my cat coming up over here visiting.
Probably going to scratch your eyes out.
If it had front claws, I'm sure it would.
There you go.
But no, I thought he's looked good. That's a guy where long term, hopefully he continues to mature and progress. But I thought he looked good. I mean, there's definitely a lot of areas for improvement with him. But I was impressed with the skill set and the raw ability I saw out there on the ice. That was what I was hitting at, Grump.
Yeah, he's at least 3 years away. 4.
Wow,
no shot. He's young. No shot. None.
Jeremy F. also saying, who would be your 7th defenseman? You got Pellick, Pulak, Mayfield, Dobson, Chara, Green. Who would be your 7th defenseman? Grump?
It'll be Gustafson, without a doubt. Or Hickey. That's it. None of the young guys. Young guys need not apply.
Personally, I don't want Salo to be the 7 defenseman yet, because to start the season, you're going to have a lot of those road games. You're going to see a lot of, I don't think you're going to see a lot of mixing the lineup there the first, stint that we're on. That being said, later on in the season, we might see more of the integration of the 7th defenseman as, legs start to get tired. As we have the Olympic break and we've got that shortened consent schedule. I think we're going to see more and more of the integration of the 7th defenseman. I think maybe to start the year, it might be a guy like Sebastian Aho. Might be, I would really hate Hickey, but it might be a guy like Hickey. Yikes. Later on in the season, you'd like to see that guy be or you'd like to see that guy be Robin Salo on occasional instances. And ideally what you want to have happen is you slowly break Robin Salo into the lineup, and then next year he's a full-time starter as your bottom pairing left-hand defenseman. That's ideally what you want to have happen.
That's not going to happen. My problem with Gustafsson, who I feel will be the 7th defenseman, is that he doesn't play any defense. How's that going to fly with Barry? I know how it would fly if his name was Dobson or Salo or Aho. You wouldn't hear from them. They sent him off to Siberia to play with Bodie Wild.
Or they'd sit him for 8 minutes. Jeremy Ford also saying, I like Salo, but I'm afraid he'll be sent down because he's waiver free and they're going to keep Gustafsson. I don't mind Gustafsson, but I'd rather have Salo.
True. Gustafsson sucks defensively, though. Terrible.
Eli said, I was able to watch the first 2 games today. Wasn't televised since it wasn't at NHL Arena. I'm impressed, especially with the goaltending. Sorokin looks like he hasn't missed a beat. I will say Sorokin has looked fantastic in net. Love to see that. I that's a guy where I'm ready to see him take a next step forward to look like, a bona fide, top tier goaltender that we all expect and want, Sorokin to be.
Sorokin's the best goaltender that the Islanders have. It's not even close. Varlamov is okay as a backup. That said, Barry's going to roll with Varlamov. Sorokin will get his games, but it'll be Varlamov because he'll die on the hill with a veteran instead of giving Sorokin the vastly superior talent, the net. I mean, honestly, it's a no-brainer, but Barry doesn't have much of a brain most times, so you're going to see Varlamov as a starter.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm fine with the goalie tandem. I'm fine with them working in tandem. I'd like to see, honestly, probably Sorokin get, slightly more starts than Varlamov, but we're going to see Varlamov being, the 1A and Sorokin being the 1B. We're going to see the same exact thing we saw last year, this year, here again. Hey, here's the thing. You look at the results. It weren't bad, but if we're talking about, pure ability-wise, I think Sorokin, ability-wise, is a better goalie than Varlamov.
Way better. Way better. It should be – I don't have a problem with the 2-goalie system, but Sorokin should get 45 and Varlamov 35. That's the way it should go. 46.
You're thinking 40 – yeah, okay, 46.
Yeah, whatever. Where he should get more starts than Varlamov, period. He's the better goalie. He is the better goalie.
I will say for you guys who were unable to watch today's game, if you have a Twitter account, you're able to watch that. They live streamed it to Twitter, so you can watch it on the Islanders Twitter. So that is the next game as well. Is going to be in the same exact scenario. So if you're looking to watch the next Islanders preseason matchup, you're going to be able to find that on Twitter on the Islanders live feed.
I will say I thought the Flyers hemmed us in our own zone most of that game. Thursday night. Was it Thursday night or Wednesday? Whatever.
I think it was Wednesday evening.
Okay. I thought Philadelphia pretty much carried the play in that game. I know we won, but but here's the thing. It's only preseason. Doesn't matter.
Exactly. It's preseason. I'm not too worried. I'm looking more for how players look rather than the team's overall results in preseason. Jeremy Ford said, Sorokin has looked good. We're pretty fortunate to have a goalie tandem plus goalie coaches, our goalie coaching, and the Islanders have. All you have to do is score 3 goals and you win more than you lose.
Easier said than done, scoring 3 goals again with this lineup.
Oh, goodness gracious.
We're one of the lowest scoring teams in the league. And you think that's getting better with the team older again next year? You think Zach Parise is going to come in and magically turn our power play into a top 10 unit? No.
What I expect from Zach Parise is to be a guy who could maybe score about 15 reasonably when I'm expecting 15, 17 goals, something like that. Maybe, having 30, maybe 35 points maximum. That's what I'm expecting from a third line left wing. But
you're dreaming. You're dreaming.
Okay. We'll have to see. Coach Tommy B saying, good evening, everyone. What is up, Coach Tommy B? Scott L saying, back to TJ start time after 8 p.m.
Ooh.
I tried to have everything prepared. Grump, I see you're wearing a new shirt. What is that, Grumpy?
Grumpy
It
shirt.
looks like Grumpy. It looks like Grumpy the Seven Dwarfs. I was about to call him Grumpy the Elf, but Grumpy from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
That's true. Since TJ has not gotten out our shirts, I figured I'd make one of my own. Or buy one of my own.
Do you see that? Oh, that little slight dig. I love it, Grump. I love it. I like your little Grump.
I think I'm going to wear this shirt every single podcast until TJ gets shirts done.
Oh shit. Okay, I better get to work on that. Brett, I can't manage to see you in that grumpy shirt all the time. Brett W says, "Hey guys, what's up? What's up, Brett W?" And then Brett W also saying, "Ross the boss looking good in preseason." I thought he's looking good.
Doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Nothing matters.
Here's the thing. Ross the boss, if let's say Matt Martin's not healthy, he's really got to take this chance and run with it. I've always thought that Ross is, defensively probably a little weaker than Matt Martin is, not as versatile, but I think he brings more of an offensive touch. And I think that son of a gun does not lose battles along the boards. He's a physical guy, and he always, same exact thing we talked about with Mike Hartman. When you got one of those physical guys out there on the ice, it allows players to play more free because they know, hey, Ross the boss is out there. I don't have to worry too much about it. You now have Zdeno Chara who fills that role too. So I could promise you one thing. We're not going to be getting pushed around in front of our net all that often. We're going to be a big physical team. I do love that about the Islanders. There's nothing more to hate when you're an overly skilled team and you have no physicality. The Islanders are tilted the other way. We're, talent-wise, not so lush, but hey, we're a hell of a physical team.
We're not a physical team.
What?
We're not we're not a physical team. We play a grinding style, but we're not a super physical team. We're not. When Ross Johnston's in the lineup and, if Chara's in there, we're more physical, but we're not laying hits.
What?
You heard me.
I'm confused.
I'm not speaking a foreign language, am I?
We're a physical team. Come on.
No, we're not. No, we're not. That's not our style. We're not running around the ice hitting people. We don't do that. That's not Barry's style. It's not his style. He's neutered Ross Johnston for the most part.
Well, Ross, okay, let's be honest. Ross during the Doug Waite days was like, hey, you go out there, you bust your ass, and if something gets physical, you pound the living hell out of somebody. I mean, Ross was fighting a little too much for my liking. I like when he fights, don't get me wrong. Every single fan loves a good NHL fight. That being said, it's not sustainable to have your fourth line guy fighting every game.
He doesn't need to fight. It's just his presence. And I always love it when an NHL player agrees with what I say, because I listen to these other goofs who say, oh, no, we don't need that. We need more of this and that and the other thing. No, you need a guy who's a deterrent out there. So you don't see your Matt Barzals get run, or so you don't see, some of the other wimps nobody's running Josh Bailey. They just let him do whatever he wants. He doesn't do anything on the ice. But like skill players like Beauvillier or Wahlstrom, you don't want to see those, or Pajot. You don't want to see those guys taking unnecessary hits. When Ross Johnston on the ice, those things just don't happen. They don't happen. That's not the case with Matt Martin anymore.
So I did see something funny here on Twitter. Now, people, this is a funny little bit saying North Americans, how the hell is Vasilevsky, Sorokin, and Shesterkin so freaking good? Russian goalie coaches, grumpy old man. I'll let you look at this. Look at what they train. I always like looking at how players train, but I did find this kind of funny how certain goalies are working, saying, hey, how can I work on my vision? How can I work on finding the puck? They'll limit their vision down, Grump. I figured you'd find this a little interesting.
I do find it interesting. What does it mean? It means you have to be good positionally, right? Because if you can't see the puck, you're going to have to be in position from where the puck and what side of the ice it's at, so your body is in the best position. I kind of enjoy that. I think that's pretty good. Now, I don't know about the other guy blindfolded.
No, he's got.
Because if he's blindfolded, man, that makes it really tough.
No, he's not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that Tristan Jarry?
No. Oh, looky there. Look at Grumpy with the cheeks.
Too easy.
Michael M saying, here are my two favorite people. What's up, Mike? How are you today?
Michael looking mean as always.
Jeremy F. said, grumpy old man, you say the Islanders are old, but I say the important players, number 13, 29, 44. So Matt Barzal, Brock Nelson, Jean-Gabriel Pajot, Casey Cizikas, Anthony Beauvillier, Kyle Palmieri, Adam Pellick, Ryan Pulak, Noah Dobson, Scott Mayfield. Who the heck is number 30?
Is that Sorokin?
It's Varlamov. It's Varlamov. Varlamov.
That's not Varlamov. Varlamov's
Okay.
over 30.
45. He's number 45, I think. And it's Sorokin. They're all 30 and under, along with 26 and number 20. Lee at 31. Varlamov are important players there over the age of 30. So,
okay, Nelson's 30. He's going to be 30 in a week. So he's 30.
You mean 31?
No, he's going to be 30. He's 29. He's going to be 30 years old in a week. Brock Nelson.
Okay.
His birthday is, I know, because I know it's in October.
October.
It's close to my birthday. That's
October 15th, Trump. I don't need you looking at it. October 15th.
Yeah. So he's going to be 30, right?
Yes.
So, no problem there. Casey Zizekas.
No, we don't. Okay. Yeah.
Casey Zizekas is 30. Who's 21?
Kyle Palmieri.
Kyle Palmieri's 30.
Well, Grumpy, I want you to reread this quote here.
Okay. Guess what? 30. Guess what it means? When you're 30, you're on the downside.
Yeah.
That's what it means. You're not getting better in your 30s. You're getting worse.
Yeah. Frank K said, Salo belongs in the NHL. Parise got outplayed by Bellows today, and don't worry, we'll never have to worry about Bellows ever scoring another goal for us. It's all good. Sorokin looks absolutely comfortable in that. So I think those are the same takeaways I've got too. I mean,
I don't care how much Bellows outplays Parise by. He has no shot of playing on this team. Parise, they'll die on that hill. That useless 37-year-old used to be good 10 years ago, Parise. That's the one. That's your improvement this offseason. F-. You got the Palmieri grade for the offseason.
Adrienne B there says, hi, TJ. And she also says, hi, grumpy old man.
Yeah, no, she doesn't. She loves TJ. She likes TJ. I know. Let me tell you something. I know a lot of people like TJ. They don't like me. I don't care. But Adrian, I still like you anyway. It's okay.
Grumpy, what do you always say to Adrian?
Yo, Adrian, I know you like TJ.
Jerry B saying, boys, 20 minutes late. Tis. By the way, it's me, boys. You know who it is. New phone, new account, etc. Former mayor of where. Former mayor of Cincinnati.
I want to know why he's always got a
Jerry Springer.
I'm not. Here's the thing. I don't know about Jerry, but I want to. He's changing his account all the time. I gotta wonder what he's doing to get why he has to change his account.
Oh, good.
And this is coming from someone who has no account. So I don't know.
Tommy B saying he missed talking about Bellows. He missed tons of chances today. He missed. He had a few chances.
At least he shoots the freaking puck.
Okay. You also have to be able to be in a position to have those chances too, which I always think is important, right? This is the thing that always baffled me. We talked about last year, how the hell this guy was not given a chance on the first line instead of Leo Komarov. You're right. He did have a lot of chances today. Converted on one of them, scored our only goal. Wasn't like he was the only guy not converting on chances. I mean, we had players hitting the post, crossbar, Kyle Palmieri. We had players missing chances and opportunities. When you're able to at least score a goal, that game, even though you're still able to miss a few opportunities, still a pretty successful day as long as you don't have any huge mental lapses that cost you a goal going the other way, which he did.
We all know that Tommy Baffy is an Islander, the Islander garbage man, the bootlicking weasel that he is. And I know he believes in everything that Lou does. We know that. That's fine. But here's the thing. You said he missed a ton of chances. He's the only guy who converted a chance today. I'll take that over a guy. Well, you know what, Josh Bailey? You know what? He doesn't miss a lot of chances because he doesn't take any chances. But this guy, he'll play on that power play. They'll roll him out there, 2 goals in 7,000 games or however many he's played in a row. Doesn't matter.
Michael M saying Koivula has been horrendous. I know he hasn't looked great.
He's given up. He's given up. He knows he has no chance. He's given up.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. And maybe it's deflating for him knowing that, hey, Cole Bardreau's ahead of me. I'm the number 6 guy. Doesn't matter what I do. I'm just ready to get a fresh start somewhere else. Hopefully I'm going to get traded. I honestly have no idea. He does look slow out there on the ice. He looks a little uninterested at times. I think he's always had good vision. I think he makes a few good feeds. I couldn't tell you. He hasn't looked very great. I will definitely say that. I can't dream up of the reason why it is that he struggled, but he has not looked good. So have at it. I know I'm a big Otto Koivula fan. Come on, pour on the hate on me saying, oh, Otto this, Otto that. That being said, Grumpy, before we get back into more comments, we have a quick ads read here from DraftKings. Week 3 of football is in the books, and now it's time to review the tape and get ready for Week 4 with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. To kick off another action-packed week, DraftKings is giving new customers $150 instantly when they place a bet of $1 on any football game. Listen up, because you don't want to miss this. Head to DraftKings Sportsbook app now and place a bet of $1 on any game this week and receive $150 in free bets instantly. If Sportsbook is not yet available in your state, DraftKings still has huge cash prizes up for grabs all season long with their daily fantasy contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN to receive $150 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any football game. That's promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. A minimum of a $5 deposit and a $1 wager is required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Grumpy old man. Back right into some comments. Scott L said, once again, Bello scores again today, but we all know Barry will not give him a legit shot at making the roster.
And that's, to me, it's a shame. It's a shame. Like I said, I hope Hosang does great for Toronto. I really do. I really do. I feel like that kid was screwed here and never given a shot. Never. They don't like you here. You got no chance. It's just that plain and simple.
Coach Tommy B saying Robin Salo, the best young player in camp. I thought he showed abilities on defensive side of the puck that I cannot wait to be a mainstay in the Islanders lineup. We talk about, defensemen that have the ability to carry the puck up the ice. This is a guy who has the ability to do so, and making sure he gets his bearing on a smaller ice surface is going to really be big for him.
It won't be this year. I don't care how well he plays. It won't be this year.
Frank K. also saying he's like Dobson, very natural.
I'd love to see those two together.
Yeah, well.
Actually, Salo's probably better off with, Mayfield. I don't know how. I think Mayfield's got 2 more years on his deal this year, maybe next, and that's it. He'll be gone. For certain, they won't be bringing him back.
Well, he's going to get paid. I'm gonna let you know something. Mayfield, when his contract expires, he's gonna get paid, and good for him. That's a guy who, he's earning, for what production we saw in the playoffs, he's earning pennies compared to other players out there on the lineup.
$1.45 million, 2 more years on his deal.
Yeah. So Michael M. also said Anders Lee is much better at using his body and drives offense. I like Kiefer. Kiefer Bellows needs to use his body more if he wants to be an NHLer.
I don't think that Anders Lee drives an offense. Not at all. They're a little bit different, but here's the thing. Kiefer Bellows has more innate skill than Anders Lee does. Just does.
Wow. Jesus Christ. I don't agree with you. I think it's like
a better shot. He's got a better shot than Anders Lee, without a doubt.
Okay. I will tell you this much. It's a bold statement. I don't think, Anders Lee has, a killer wrist shot or a hell of a slap shot. The guy is, he's a poor man's, as you call a broke ass man's Dave Anderchuk. He does his job really well.
Okay. You know what? Don't even mention Anders Lee and Dave Anderchuk in the same sentence.
They play a similar style.
You know what? How about just saying he's a poor man's Pitt Martin or somebody like that? He's not Dave Anderchuk. He's not Dave Anderchuk. But you're right. They're neither. They're both them. I think Bellows is a better skater than Anders Lee. Anders Lee is a really below average skater.
They're both, in the time of be saying, both Bellows and Lee are below average skaters, but Lee is a much better player.
I think Lee has more opportunities. Lee has more opportunities, where Kiefer Bellows never had a shot. That's my problem.
Michael M. saying, yes, Tommy, no debate, but Bellows is so hot and cold, I think he meant.
How would you know if he's not?
Love Bellows, but Lee's better.
Yeah, to me, what was Anders Lee at 23 years old? Nothing. He was a third liner. He was a nothing player, but at least he got a legitimate shot. If Anders Lee came up today, he wouldn't even get a shot on this team if the roles were reversed.
Well,
He
here's
got
the
a
thing.
fair shot.
At 23 years old, Anders Lee started playing, remember, on the kid line. So he broke into he wanted to play in 22 games. He was playing, I think it was Ryan Strome and Brock Nelson at that year. He was playing like 15, some odd minutes a night. So he was playing top 6 minutes. And again, he had good production, 22 games, 14 points. But he was playing, I think, on that the kid line we had it dubbed at that time period. Man, oh man, that was back in 2013, 2014 season, Grump. Holy crap. You tick the clock back. Man, oh man, going down memory lane.
Yeah, well, but it's the truth, right? I mean, 14. All right. Well, Kiefer Bellows last year played 4 games. He had 3 points. I guess that's better than nothing.
Okay. Played more than 4 games last year.
I don't know. I just
consider
them
a 1 4-game stretch. Let's not cherry pick it. Let's not be disingenuous, Grump.
I consider them very, very similar players.
I consider their playing style similar. Sure. That's fine. Whatever. Jerry Bennett, they're saying, boys, just saying the 4-0 win over the Rangers were half an AHL roster. The Rags were pretty much all full-time AHLers.
It's exhibition. I mean, Jersey beat the Rangers too. So, I mean, they're, like I said, it's preseason. You know what the Rangers doing? They're using preseason for what it's really for. Us. I don't even know what the hell we do.
Hold on. Are you trying to tell me you have an issue with the preseason roster we're putting out there?
I'm just saying the Rangers are looking at players who could potentially play. We don't do that.
What do you mean?
We don't care.
Hold on. We're playing guys out there that could maybe make a roster one day. What are you talking about? I'm confused by that statement. Are you just trying to find everything to get pissed off about the Islanders? Anything I say you disagree with? That makes no sense to me.
Why do you want me agreeing with you? I mean, you're wrong all the time.
No, I'm just saying I don't understand the comment you made.
My comment is, so whenever you say something, I have to take the other side because you're batting 1,000. You're wrong every time.
I'm asking you about that specific comment. You said the Rangers are doing what they should for preseason. We're not. I just want you to explain.
Yeah, I think the Rangers are actually looking at players. Well, I don't think we're doing anything. We're just going through the motions. It doesn't matter. No one has a shot to make our team. Like I said, it's all in granite. Knocked in granite. There'll be no surprises. None. Not a one. Nothing. What I tell you we're going to do in the offseason? Nothing. What did we do? Less than nothing.
Jim P saying, Bellows has a sniper shot. Lee is good in the corners and in front of the net.
True.
And then Frank Hay was saying, never been given a fair shot. Him and Aho, not good fair shots.
To me, I don't know. I just think it's good for your organization if you got guys who are toiling in the minors or guys who are young players where they actually see that you have a legitimate shot. If you give it 100% all the time and you're putting your best foot forward, you have a shot to make the big team. That's just not the case here. And I think that erodes confidence with the underling players in your organization. I just feel it is. I just feel they play favorites. That's all. They just play favorites.
Michael M says, when you watch Barzal in these games, you really see how much better he is than everybody around him. I do agree with that. He's looked fantastic, and you see how much he drives every sort of offensive chance we have on that first line. It's either through him or not at all.
He's the only player on this team that other teams worry about. They don't worry about anybody else. Nobody. If you're going into pregame and your coach says, hey, we got to watch the second line. We got to watch. No, all you got to do is we got to watch 13. He drives everything that they do.
Gotcha. Michael M saying, Salo has already outplayed Aho, and Tommy B also saying not even close. And Gustafson has outplayed Aho as well.
Yeah, Gustafson's going to be the
guy. Daniel B said, does anybody know where I could buy a yellow canary? Grump, I think that was a shot at you saying that.
It's a shot on me. They go down into the mines. They have somebody, they used to send the canaries down there to see if there was a gas leak. If they come back up and they're dead, they know they got a gas leak and they got to fix some stuff in the coal mines.
Oh, good.
That's a really old reference. Really old.
I was about to say canary in the coal mine. Frank K said, send Parise to Mercury, please. Oh, goodness gracious.
He's starting. He's your big acquisition. He's going to turn that third line into a juggernaut, offensive juggernaut at 37. Not even good enough to play for a miserable Minnesota team last year, but he's going to come in here and he's going to set the world on fire. No other organization could he perform for, but comes here, he's going to be like the probably MVP candidate.
You think he's going to win Best Player on the Islanders this year, Grumpy?
No, it'll be Matt Barzal. If Matt Barzal gets hurt, he could be. Because all the rest are garbage.
Oh, come on, Grub. That being said, Michael M said Parise wasn't awful in his first game. Love the guys hustle. We have a lot of guys working hard. I think that we're going to have our best year under Barry Trotz. I think when our team is fully healthy, I think we are a better team maybe than what we were last year. That being said, it's all about the playoffs, and I hope some of the older guys we have on this roster can continue the same exact energy and momentum they have today, that they're going to have, game 90 when we're in the playoffs and game 95 deep into the playoffs.
Now, here's the whole – you got to remember, we had, I think, 103 points under Trotz our first year? I mean, I don't know if we get to 103 points. I just don't. We're older. I think if people keep on thinking it's like, 1999. It's not.
1990.
Gonna party like it's 1999. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, right? Though 2019, you're right. You're talking about with Barry Trotz, we had 48 wins, 27 losses in regulation, and 7 overtime losses.
So that's what? That's a lot of points. I mean, what? 103, right?
That's a lot of points.
No,
it's
103.
It's 103 points.
I don't see us getting to 103 points this year.
Jerry B said, Jer Ben said, how do you feel that Barry Trotz has been shitting all over Wallstrom's training camp? Laughing my ass off. Have you heard the interviews? Yeah, haven't been too rosy and flowery of Oliver Wahlstrom. But again, you see a lot of that coach speak when it's like, hey, guy, he's better, he's more cognizant of his game. The same exact thing we're reading. So a lot of it's coach talk, but he has not been too flowery over Oliver Wahlstrom. I don't think he's had a great. That being said, I don't think Oliver Wahlstrom's had a great preseason, but I don't think it's any reason for concern though.
Maybe it's so he can prepare the fan base when he sends them down. Well, I told you he was having a bad preseason. So we're going to send him down. We're going to play Leo Komarov. He used to play on the first line. Him, Parise, and Pajot. Ooh, that's a good line. How'd that look?
Tommy B said, Hickey looks like crap.
That's why he's wearing number 2.
Oh, man. Michael M said, I don't know. I like Parise. I think he's going to score 20 goals.
I don't see that. I just don't see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael M also said Grumpy and his couch are ready for some 1-0 wins.
1-0 wins. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just wish we do something to improve the offense. It's tough to win in this league 1-0 or 2-1 every game. Just real tough.
Hey, when you're able to pound it, you listen to the NHL, you listen to NHL announcers, ex-players. Hey, it's nice every once in a while when you pound the hell of a team, you can kind of relax mentally a little bit. You're not going to take your foot off the gas, but you can mentally relax a little bit. And Jeremy F. said, I think Oliver is feeling it out after a pretty scary injury. He just needs a few bumps here and there and to get going again.
Well, he better not. He better hope that Barry doesn't lose confidence in him, because that's a good way to get shipped off to Siberia.
Siberia being the AHL, huh, Grumpy?
Wherever.
Well, here's the thing. He's not. I would be shocked if he. People are hypothesizing maybe he might be the first game he won't play. Just for maximizing the long-term injury that the Islanders could have. Maybe they might do that and swap him back in. We have no earthly idea. That being said, Oliver Wahlstrom's a guy who needs to be up there in the NHL. Needs to be playing major minutes. Needs to be playing on the power play. No doubt about it.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see if he gets sent down to the minor start. I think that tell me that doesn't push my narrative of what the Islanders do. Honestly, I'm kind of rooting for it now.
Oh, stop! I'm rooting for the team's success.
Well, so am I. But you know what? Everything he does is they're going to do what they're going to do regardless. If you consider success, coming in fourth in your division or third in your division.
I consider success what we do in the postseason. I can give a rat's ass about what we do. I can give a crap if we win the best. I can care if we win the President's Trophy or not. All I care about is winning the Stanley Cup. President's Trophy, not important. I don't care if we squeak into the playoffs with, the last wild card position. If we win the Stanley Cup, that's all that matters.
All I'm going to say is if you can't even win your own division, your chances of winning the Stanley Cup are not so good.
Michael M says, hot take, if Sorokin stays in that game, we win. Yeah, I think that's what we've learned from Corey Schneider, this year in the preseason games we've seen him in. Yikes. He cannot play. He cannot foot the bill in the NHL.
You know what? He is what he is at this stage. Why not play one of the young guys? I mean, you know what you got in Corey Schneider. Why not play, somebody else? Why not play Skarek? I mean, I don't understand the love for another guy in his mid-30s. Is it necessary? I don't see it.
Yeah, I would like to see Scarab a little more often. I mean, we've seen Appleby a few times. That being said, Tommy B saying the big question is what's wrong with Varlamov? Yeah, he's not played at all so far in this preseason, which leads me to believe one or two things. Might be a little banged up, or they know exactly what they have in them. They are not going to start playing him in preseason games until we get closer. Maybe we're going to start seeing him in, next preseason game. Might be the first time we see him, but I have no idea what's going on with Varlamov. I'm not too concerned. I don't think there's an injury just quite yet.
I don't even care. As far as I'm concerned, he's the backup goalie anyway. The other guy, Sorokin's better than he is.
Okay.
Sorokin's better. I could care less if he's out, if he misses 10 games. Ride Sorokin. He's the better player. What do I care if a backup is hurt?
Yeah. I just know that people are saying there's a lot of, hey, why has he been absent there? They said he's got some soreness still he's rehabbing. It's still, is it something major? Barry Trotz said, no, it's not, but it's a nagging injury. So
that's what happens when you get old. You tend to get those kind of injuries. You don't bounce back as quick. That's what happens when you got a bunch of old guys on your team. Lead the league in ice packs.
Jesus. So again, I have no idea how bad the injury is. It might just be something like, hey, I've got a little tweak here on my groin. I want to make sure I get right. I've got my calf is bothering me. Who the hell knows? I'm not too concerned with the injury issue. I think we might see him being rolled out here next game, something like that, if he's healthy enough. Scott L said, TJ and Grumpy, give us your bold prediction for the Islanders this season, please. Grump, I'll let you go with your bold prediction first, and I'll come with
you will. Of course you will, because never let it be said that you go out on out on a limb. I think we make the playoffs, probably come in third in the division, third or fourth. But I do think we make the playoffs. But I don't this year. I don't think we go as far in the playoffs we have the last 2 years.
That's your bold prediction, that we're going to make the playoffs but do worse. Hold on, Grumpy. That's not too bold.
Oh, so what? I should say we win the Stanley Cup? So I should lie to the people?
No, I'm not saying you should lie to the people. Well, my bold prediction here is this. I think.
You talk about like a hot take or something?
Yes, bold prediction for the Islanders, Grump.
I took it inappropriately. Go ahead, DJ. Let's see what you got to say first.
Hold on. How do you take that inappropriately? I don't get it.
I just thought he was asking for what I thought our predictions for the Islanders season was.
Now,
I understand the question.
Your bold prediction. Gotcha. That being said, my bold prediction here is this. I think Noah Dobson steps in and he becomes your bona fide, exactly what you expect from him to be, a bona fide top 4 defenseman. I think point production wise from Noah Dobson this year, I think you're looking at probably about 30, 35 points. And I'm saying that Ryan Pulock has a bounce back year in a major way. I think you're looking at, again, a guy who might be able to average a point every other game, maybe 40, 45 points, which would be the first time he's ever done that in his career. That being said, you're also going to have to pay the piper towards the end of the year for Ryan Pulock, which is unfortunate. Hopefully we're able to tie him up beforehand, but I don't envision Ryan Pulock only having 2 goals in a regular season this year. I'm thinking Pulock returns back to a 10 to 15 goal a year type of guy like he has been in his past. So I think, you're going to see a resurgence, number one, out of Ryan Pulock, and I think you're going to see a big step forward out of Noah Dobson this year.
Okay, my hot take is Sorokin's going to take over the number 1 goalie role by the end of the year. That's what I wanted him to do last year, but I think he'll do it this year. I also think Dobson is going to have a breakout year offensively. Just more of the same mediocrity. I hate to say it. I think that Wallstrom is going to have a down year. I just think Parise is going to be an absolute bust on the left side of that line.
That's a bold prediction. You think Parise is going to be bust?
That's not a bold prediction. I mean, come on, that's really not a bold prediction.
Well, everybody else seems to think that he's going to do well. I think he's going to do well. You think he's going to be a bust? Okay.
So everyone thinks that 37-year-olds are going to come back and rejuvenate their careers. Okay. I think that's a bold prediction.
Hey, they did it with Valtteri Filppula, Grump.
He wasn't 37.
He was probably older.
He was 34. There's a difference between 34 and 37. I hate to tell you. And he might hustle, but you know what? He can't get to the same spots anymore at the same speed. I hope he does well. I think you're chasing after fool's gold there.
Frank K said the critique of the young guys make me nuts. How about Brock Nelson looking lost the whole entire series versus Tampa Bay? Enough. Be consistent.
He is consistent. Old guys can do whatever they want, not get rep. Young guys, we're going to shred you no matter what happens.
Daniel B saying Sorokin is going to be our number one this season.
Not initially, but eventually.
Well, here's the thing. If let's say one of these things are nagging, and I will tell you one thing, one or two things. Nagging injuries could mean, hey, this is literally just a nagging injury, or could be a tear that he's not aware of, and his body is okay fighting it off, and he might be battling something the entire season long. That doesn't bode well for the goalie tandem, because as comfortable as we do feel here with the goalie tandem, I don't feel comfortable with Sorokin and Corey Snyder splitting a 1A 1B. I mean, like you're talking about, if let's say something did happen to Varlamov, he's got something nagging, goes in there, boom, aggravates it out for a significant time period. You're going to be relying solely on Ilya Sorokin to carry the entire load.
Well, I'd rather have Sorokin carrying the load than Varlamov.
I'd rather have both a 1A, 1B tandem.
Yeah, I would too. But like I said, if I'm going to lose a player from that goaltending tandem, I'd much rather be the lesser player than the better player.
Okay, you much rather be there, Varlamov than Sorokin. Okay, Jeremy Ford said, agree, TJ, with your take on Dobson. I think he'll have a pretty big year, 40-plus points.
That's a lot of points.
I was going to say, I don't think 40. I'm thinking 30, 35. I think it's probably, it's safe to assume. But he's going to have a lot of power play points.
Yes.
If there's the puck towards the net, he will have a lot of power play points. I think Kulak will have, a resurgence. You'll see a little bit of a bounce back year for him. Eli saying, we've got average Anders in the geriatric, Grumpy.
Actually, it says generic Grump, but maybe
generic Grump. I'm sorry. I read it quick.
Maybe it is geriatric. I don't know. But if it's geriatric, I don't know when that age starts, so I don't know if I'm there yet, probably. But generic, okay, I'll go with that.
Jeff S says, I give Dobson and management of his time a pass last year because he got COVID. He looks like a star in the making now. That's what I was about to say. Before COVID, he looked fantastic. I think when COVID, it took something out of him. He never really fully recovered. It took him a long time to get back. Sometimes that happens with athletes when they get COVID, we've noticed. That being said, I think he's looked fantastic. Just preseason, but I think we've seen some of the flashes and exactly what we were looking and expecting from him last year. I've been seeing a lot of this season. That makes me excited.
Yeah, he carried Green last year before he was carrying him before he got COVID. And after that, he was not the same player. We've discussed that many times. And I think he looks like he's ready to pick his game up. And good, because we need him to step up, honestly. He needs to be your second pairing right-handed defenseman. That's what he needs to be this year.
Chip, go ahead, Grump.
I know that they're probably going to start him on the third pair, but he needs to be your second pair guy. So that means Chara better step up and be ready to play second pair minutes.
Okay. Yeah, probably. Jim P said all this criticism of Wally from Trotz is a pretext for sending him down to Bridgeport. They need to send him down so as not to lose Johnston or Bellows. Wally's going to take one for the team early in the season and tear it up at Bridgeport.
Again, it's what you call cap mismanagement, mismanaging your assets. If that's the case, best players should play. Firm believer in that.
Okay, I will tell you this now. Bellows is on a two-way deal, so I don't think they have to worry about Bellows being snatched up. Ross Johnson also is a guy I don't think they have to worry about being snatched up. The only thing I think they have to worry about, Aho is a guy who might be snatched up. I mean, they're going to keep Gustafson. That's going to be definitely one of the spots. Jeremy said, yeah, generic is better than geriatric, right? The question mark. Jer Ben said, I really think we should roll out Gustafson and switch off of Chara and Green. Maybe throw Salo in there.
Gustafson just doesn't play any defense. I mean, I got to think that would, even though he's an old guy, I have to think that would drive Barry crazy, unless he could somehow blame Dobson for it, which he might.
Jeff S said, I think Bavillier, still at 24, will improve too. Will be consistent. He has potential.
I don't know. You kind of are what you are. I mean, and I love Anthony Bavillier, but he's streaky. He just is.
I was about to say, I think Anthony Bavillier might have a chance to improve a little bit. I think he is what he is at this point, just as you mentioned, 24 years old. You're kind of hitting your potential. You are what you are. When you're 25, 26 years old, you're in the prime of your career. I mean, he's going to be a guy I always feel like he's going to be inconsistent. Very rarely do you see those Brock Nelson types where they're inconsistent until they're 24, 25, 26, and then all of a sudden, new coach, and they all of a sudden become magically consistent, and they fit really well into the scheme. I mean, very rarely does that happen. Daniel B said, re-signing Cizikas was big for us.
The money was good. The term was bad.
But here's the thing: the money, we knew we'd have to go ahead and sign it to a larger term deal if we wanted, the money to decrease. I mean, he took a pay cut to stay with the Islanders, signed a long contract, but he took a pay cut in essence.
Yeah, we could have done something else. We didn't have to sign him back. We could have signed somebody else.
Who else?
Eric Howler.
Who else?
Eric Howler.
Ah, there it is.
Less money than that for a 2-year deal, same age, better player.
Oh, look at that. Grumpy hits his Eric Howler. Eric Howler.
Truth.
For those with the bingo boards at home, you can mark that one complete. There's a few that we haven't marked complete yet. Jeff S. said, only critique of Trotz, he never calls out veterans. People like Nelson Bailey could have been called out, but only young players seem to get benched or scratched.
It seems like more people are starting to see the light. I've been preaching this for how many years, and now it's starting to get through to people.
At least 2 years we've been talking about.
It's been 3 years.
I'm just saying, at least bare minimum 2 years we've been talking about. It's been a mainstay on this podcast. Mario saying here, rumors that Wahlstrom is likely to be sent down at the start of the season are nothing more than softening the blow. If Wahlstrom is not doing well in training camp because he knows that's no matter how well he plays during the preseason, there's no way he's going to make the roster. Why make an effort?
And that's now Mario's a little bit more heavy-handed than what I say, but I feel that if a player knows that, and I'm not saying this is going to happen with Wahlstrom, we don't know. Would it surprise me? It would not. But if you know that, it's like, why am I putting out when I have no shot of making the team? Now, I feel he has a future with the team as opposed to some of the other players. So it's a little bit different, but I could imagine that being disheartening. I mean, he was tied for second in power play goals last year for us, and all of a sudden he's not even able to make the team.
Was not tied for second in power play goals. Remember, Brock Nelson had more than he had other players ahead of him. He was up there in power play goals, not tied for second. Daniel B said, I think the Islanders should start Dave Sullivan. He's playing great for the Murder Hornets.
Very good.
Grump, I didn't get that reference. You're going to have to explain it to me.
It's funny. Next.
Jeff S. said, Sorokin will be better this year. Chara will bring a nice physical presence as far as maybe our guys being taken advantage of physically. I was about to say, that's the best way to look at it. Chara is a physical presence in front of the net. You will not see our guys getting bullied down low. Sometimes we saw it. We don't see it all that often. Sometimes you saw it last year during the postseason. That will not happen with Chara in front of the net. And Sorokin, man, oh man, I cannot wait to see what hit the numbers he's going to post this year. I feel like are going to be gaudy. He's going to be posting video-esque game numbers this year.
I don't know, only because remember, Chara can't skate anymore. I mean, Ross Johnson's a better skater right now than Zdeno Chara is. I mean, and he's got to play defense. I mean, Dobson's going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting on that defense pairing. Chara will help him develop as a player. He absolutely will. But he's going to struggle skating, and that could cause maybe Sorokin or Varlamov, where they're going to have a few more chances on net than you'd like to see.
Yeah, again, Sorokin, I feel like saves those high danger scoring chances a little more often than Varlamov does. I'm just talking about in front of the net. You don't have to worry about when the offense is set up in our, when the opposing team's offense is set up in our defensive zone. We don't have to worry too much about us being out physical in front of the net. That's all I'm saying. True. Alexander says, hey guys, how are you both guys doing? What's up, Alexander? Doing well.
Alexander's not doing so well.
Ooh. Oh,
Mets got, since last time we talked, Mets have been eliminated. Tua's out for who cares how long. Jacoby Brissett's the quarterback of Miami. These are tough times for Alexander.
Michael M said, that's not Trotz's style, Grump. The real issue is Trotz is doing that with everyone. Why would Leo play a first line? Why would Leo ever play the first line?
That's not the Trotz. Grump is the real.
Okay,
the
Grump.
real issue is Trotz doing with everyone.
Okay, don't worry, Grump. We'll move on to the next one because you're not paying
Okay.
attention. Don't worry about it.
No, I didn't understand it.
No, here it is, man. He's just saying again, the issue is he does that with everybody, talking about short leashes. And again, that Leo, why the hell would Leo ever play on the first line?
Yeah, well, Leo doesn't have a short leash. They gave it. He didn't even have a leash. He's running around in the backyard. He's running around the street. No dog catcher even out there.
Jeff S saying Bailey can play on the third line. He never scores 20 goals. Pajot can play with Bailey and cover up his turnovers, but Nelson can stay with Bavillier.
Yeah, I mean, Bailey to me has always been a third line player. Always. Wouldn't you like to have Oliver Wahlstrom playing as a sniper? If he's not playing on the, I'd like him on the first line, but then let's say not put Palmieri on the second line with Pajot, with Nelson and Bavillier. I mean, that seems like a good line too. To me, the only guy out of place on those top two lines, really out of place, is Bailey.
Yeah. I think, you always call average Anders up there in the top line left wing. But here's the thing, right? Our lines are cemented in. That's why I said, we talk about it, right? Let's take the clock back. Do you remember when other writers were out there saying, hey, Oliver Wahlstrom might really have a chance to play on the first line? I said, no shot in hell. Now it's funny, right? How the matter of 1 week turns from these same exact writers in the Islanders media cartel talking about how Oliver Wahlstrom might be able to take the step and play on the first line. Maybe he's going to get a chance immediately on the first line right wing. And three preseason games in, now they're talking Oliver Wahlstrom might start off the year in Bridgeport. And this is the reason why, right? You talk about the dichotomy and the huge difference. Man, oh man, dude, just think with your brain. Don't go ahead and automatically gravitate and try to, propagate these ideas of, hey, because I like this guy, or because Barry Trotz has said he played well, we think he can automatically make the step up, even though he was being benched at time periods for 8-10 minutes a game. He wasn't going to make the step automatically to play first line. Ideally, I don't think he's going to be sent down to Bridgeport. It's a huge mistake if they do. He's going to start off the season on the third line, and he's probably going to play on the third line the entire year. Unless injury happens, then he'll get a chance in the top six role.
For this organization, you don't need to opine on what you think might happen. All you have to do is look at the history since Barry Trotz has been here. He's not going to take a chance at all, ever. He's going to ride the veterans, and he's going to take whatever minimizes risk. That's it. You're never going to see a young guy take a jump. Just not going to happen. He won't do it. That's been his MO throughout his whole coaching career.
Alexander saying, speaking also on the topic, I was going to ask you guys about Wahlstrom with him having a bad camp. Is that because Trotz and the coaching staff, or which is it? I think it's just Wahlstrom having a bad camp. I don't think it's Trotz and the coaching staff. I just think he's having a little bit of a rough start. Be that as may, for whatever reason that is, it's no reason for concern. That's why I don't get why he's, burying the hell out of him in the press, saying, hey, we need more out of him. It's preseason, ladies and gentlemen. It's preseason. Barry Trotz, this is preseason. Right? If we're talking about running a marathon, right now they're doing some dynamic stretching. They're doing some, hey, I'm doing some, Frankensteins. I'm doing, some hip openers. I'm doing anything I can to warm up my body, get ready to run this marathon. That's what the preseason is. It's nice to see production. It's nice to see, points on the board. It's preseason.
I just look at it as he rips Wahlstrom, and he says Simon Holmstrom is doing well. He's lying. You just know he's lying. We could have had McMichael, Kaliev, Tomasino, but we got Casper.
Yeah, thanks. You hit on it again. I don't even know how the hell you made it to that, but it was an awful force, Grump. That was a bad one. We're gonna have comments later on, Grumpy. Bad force on the three amigos. Grumpy. Jeff S saying Komarov, where will he play if Wahlstrom is sent down? Who's playing in his spot? Bellows, Panic, Komarov. Oh, I think it's
Komarov without a doubt. Panic, no shot. Bellows, less than no shot. It'll be Komarov.
Jesus.
What does that do for our age? What's that do for our age? Puts it up another half year for the team. Sit Wallstrom, play Komarov. Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, goodness gracious. Scott L said, with Lou sending Bodie Wild to Sweden because he wasn't vaccinated, do you think he has a future with the Islanders, or will they treat him like Josh Hosang? I think we already answered that. No future at all with the Islanders. Get rid of
None. Zero. You don't toe that company line. We don't want you.
Oh,
Same thing with Bellows, right? Same thing.
Tommy B saying Josh Hosang plays as an individual, not as a team guy. Plain and simple.
Yeah, he never had a shot. He never had a shot here. I totally disagree with Tommy on that. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I don't see eye to eye on that one. That's for certain. And then also talking about Jeff Sobel says it was not just the Islanders. Lots of other teams passed on him in the draft. Then he was not given a chance here because he didn't fit the system. It will be interesting to see how he pans out. Yeah, I was about to say I root nothing but success for the guy. I hope he does, great things. I hope when given a chance and opportunity, he shines. So
it's funny because he did produce when he played with Brock Nelson. He did under Doug Weight. And if he wasn't a fit when the new regime came in, you should have moved him that first year. You shouldn't have poo-pooed him and sent him down and played him on the fourth line, played him on third line, instead of playing him on the first line, which is where he should have played. You should have just moved him while he had some value. They chose not to do that. They lost an asset for nothing. That's bad asset management.
Gotcha, Grumpy. Moving right along here. Oh wow, Grumpy. I actually didn't miss any comments this time, Grump. I'm shocked.
Don't worry, we're not done yet.
Oh, look at that, Grumpy. Always finding his way to wiggle in a jab. There we go. We got a whole bunch to talk about, Josh. I was saying, Lou R saying, you're talking about coming down on young players, and you're doing the same ish? Question mark. I don't get it. I don't think we come down.
I'm not coming down on the young players.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't see that. When we were talking about Simon Holmstrom. That's exactly what this is.
Simon Holmstrom can't play. There's a difference. He's never showed he can play at any level. And somehow he got picked. A guy who was projected to go late second-round pick. They piss away a first-round pick when they had higher-end talent out there who could actually produce. They pick another second-line Josh Bailey retread and jam him in there. He would have been available in the second round. Kid was hurt all year. Those guys dropped. Not for the Islanders, though.
Oh, this is what it was. This is also the other item I wanted to share here with you, Grumpy, because I made a little response to this one. Michael Anderson, he's one of the guys who works on the Eyes on Isles crew, Grumpy old man. I'm sure the Islanders Inquirer says, remember, Holmstrom came to the Islanders with an injury-prone tag and hasn't been the case so far in North America. This is going to be a big year for Holmstrom. Count on it. I don't know if he's saying Holmstrom's going to perform or this is a big year where Holmstrom has to perform. Here's the thing. Holmstrom, Jesus.
This guy needs to get his mouth out of Barry's pants and just, have an original thought. Here's the thing. Maybe he's not been injury prone, but you know what he is? He also isn't a good player. That's a tag he has now. Bust. That's his new tag. Hashtag freaking bust.
Hashtag freaking bust. Frank K said Casper Holmstrom sucks.
That's right, Frank.
Michael M says he's only 20 years old and Ratu already looks like twice the player.
Because he's better. The other guy has no ability. He's nothing. He's a nothing.
Coach Tommy B said, Ratu looked more polished than I expected. Very rare of an 18-year-old. I was watching, it's funny, when I was watching the broadcast from Philly, I was watching the game, the Islanders against Philadelphia, the second preseason game, I was watching the Philly broadcast, and it was funny. They pronounced his name Ati Rati, is what they kept on pronouncing his name. Ratty. Maybe that was it, Ratty. And I was like, God almighty, it's Ratu. It kept burning. I'm like, damn.
Okay, here's the thing. You called him Ratty, too, till you learned his name.
Okay, one time. Hold on. I think we've always called him Ratu.
No, you called him Ratty, and I had to correct you.
Oh, bullshit. Somebody I don't buy it.
It's the truth.
Oh, man. And we're moving right along there. Michael M said, Holmstrom, Michael Del Cole, and Otto Koivu are extremely disappointing.
Okay, Michael Del Cole is what he is. He's a AHL, NHL tweener. He's a grinder type. He is what he is. I mean, you're not going to hear me rip on Michael Del Cole unless they put him on the first line or the second line because his skill set screams fourth line, honestly. I mean, he is what he is.
Michael, and this is a long one, Grump, so buckle in. He said, I had Islanders fans on Twitter telling me that prospects aren't important when you're winning, and followed up by saying, our whole team was drafted, Grumpy, because, guys, we have so many superstars and Hall of Famers on this current squad. No prospect pool or other assets, so we can't trade for a legit goal scorer, and you're basically applauding Garth Snow's mediocrity. This team should be mediocre without Trotz. I do agree that without Barry Trotz, our team would not be where we are. Barry Trotz is the reason why we've had so much success in the regular season and the postseason. As much as we have faults or we find issues sometimes with Barry Trotz, we would not be where we are today without Barry Trotz. This is a team that was mediocre pedestrian under Jack Capuano and Doug Waite.
True. Well, we could score, though. We just had no defensive structure. And that's what Barry Trotz brought to the Islanders. Defensive structure, and that's why we're successful, because we're not super talented. We're not.
Yeah. And then Robert W says, today's game was streamed on the Islanders website. Yep. So you can either watch it on Twitter or the Islanders website, Grumpy.
Okay,
fair enough.
Game's over now. I can't watch it now.
Well, I'm talking about next game. Next game is going to be the same exact thing, Grump. So make sure you keep that. Make sure you keep that in your Rolodex, Grumpy. Yes. I don't know what you're looking for, but Michael M said Nino Niederreiter, Carter Verhaeghe, Ryan Strome. Ooh, yikes!
Not good enough to play on our team.
Joe F says you have to show your papers to attend UBS Arena. Yeah, I did see that. You got to show your vaccine card there in order to attend the game.
Well, nothing wrong with that. I got mine.
Michael M said, and what do we need, Grump? A goal scorer? Those guys could have come in handy to get ONR.
ONR.
Couldn't tell you what that means.
Okay. Yeah, but that's what happens when your farm system is barren, you have nothing to give up but picks. And if you're giving up picks, you have nothing to replenish your system. Eventually the players get old, and you should be filling in with cheap players from your own system. We don't have that right now.
Yeah. Again, we've always agreed with that. Michael M. also saying poor asset management, not all of it on Lou. Yeah, that's true. And it also says Devon Toews for 2 seconds was terrible. We've said that for years and years. What an awful, awful, awful deal. Mismanagement of an asset. If you're going to get rid of him, should have got more than 2 seconds. It's essentially like we had to give up Devon Toews in order to get rid of Andrew Ladd.
Yeah.
We had to get rid of a guy who's a Norris contention trophy, a guy who plays top line minutes for Colorado, had one of the highest plus minuses in the entire NHL last season, to get rid of Andrew Ladd's contract with 2 years left on it.
Yeah. Here's the thing. He mentioned about, Snow's asset management. That's 4 years ago now. So everything now is on Lou. Everything.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, sure. Everything's left on Lou. But I will say, some of the deals that, we have in place are old Garth Snow contracts. But, I mean, that's all pretty much been eradicated at this point. Just going forward, it's all on Lou. I think you're right. And Tommy B says, Martin does not kill penalties anymore. I see him occasionally out there on the ice killing penalties.
He can't, though. He's not. He's 30. What's he, 32, 33 this year? Yeah.
Jared Ben says, let's talk about which forwards are going to play the power play. LOL. Does Barry usually play 3 forwards or 4 on the power play?
It depends on which unit is out there. I think you're going to see 4 forwards on the power play.
First line for 4 forwards, second line probably 3 forwards and 2 defensemen.
Yeah, and your guys at the top are probably going to be Pulak and Dobson. Those are going to be your 2 guys at the top.
Yeah, I'll be interested. I think like in certain days, and we might see this, like if you're depending on like if Gustafson's in, you might see Gustafson playing a role on the power play. I'm just saying, right? For a guy who might be a 7th defenseman, he is very skilled offensively. I could see him playing in some sort of capacity on the power play. Let's say if injury happens, he might be slid in. Because again, our power play is going to go through ebbs and flows just like every other team. I mean, our offense has always been pedestrian. Since Barry Trotz has been here, our defense has been outstanding. Goaltending has been outstanding. Offense, pedestrian. Our power play has been less than less than desirable. We've never had a good power play under Barry Trotz.
Yeah. I mean, it's the players. I mean, it's just you don't have any high-end talent out there. And that's what you get. For the forwards, I mean, I got to figure first power play is going to be Dobson with Lee down low. I don't know. I thought that Wahlstrom would have a shot, but who even knows now, right? Maybe Parise plays down low too. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, honestly, how it's going to line up. I don't know yet, honestly.
Yeah. Scott L saying, Grumpy, did you get Bailey a gift for his birthday?
Yeah, I did.
Get him.
I got him a Nashville Predators jersey. This is where you're going next.
Is that for Forsberg, Philip Forsberg?
For anybody, buck bag. Anything.
Shocked you didn't say St. Louis Blues for Tarasenko, but
that was never happening. I told you that.
Omar K said, Scott L, Bale's clutch play in the postseason. Why the hate?
Because he's a below average player.
Yeah, another thing, Omar, too. I mean, here's the thing. He has played well in the postseason. I don't think he's a below average player. Bailey is what he is. He's always going to get hate. He's always going to get love from some people. I think he's on a really good team. He's a guy that you'd like to see maybe he's a tweener between a second line guy, second line right winger, third line right winger, depending on who you have on the team.
He's not a difference maker.
Yeah, he doesn't. You look at it; he doesn't tilt the needle. He's a Swiss Army knife. He's a dull Swiss Army knife. He does a little bit of everything, but he's not a guy that's overly talented in one particular area. He has good vision, makes good passes, but not overly talented in a lot of areas and facets of his game.
If he was a third liner making $3 million a year, I'd have no problem with him. It's the fact that he plays the second line, makes $5 million per. He just doesn't earn it. I'm sorry. He doesn't create offense. He doesn't score. He's a jag.
Tommy B said, Gustafsson, whether you like it or not, has had a good camp and played well in his 2 preseason games.
He doesn't play any defense.
I'm about to say today, I mean, he played against the Devils. Again, I'll be honest with you. Corey Schneider has led in a lot of, in my opinion, weakies so far this year in camp. He hasn't been the only one, but he's led in a lot of weakies so far this year in camp. So, I mean, Gustafsson, he hasn't really been tested. I mean, the Devils team we played this today, I think even Staples said it was like the JV Devils, the Devils JV team. So it wasn't what we're going to see opening night for the Devils.
Yeah, they were playing AHL team for the most part.
We got your attention, Rob? What's going on, man?
I was thinking about something else. I'm sorry.
Jesus. Jeremy F said, Letty with 3 assists tonight.
That's what I was thinking about.
well, here's the thing.
They've taken the shackles off. Here's
the thing. Detroit is going to be a team. I remember when I told you Detroit's in a hell of a hard division. But I told you Stevie Y knows how to build a team, and you've got Nedeljkovic going back there in net. You've got a lot of young players stepping up there. Niederbach for the Red Wings. You've got their young defenseman. I cannot remember his name. One defenseman of the year there in Sweden. I mean, the Red Wings are going to be a team to watch out for.
They're not ready yet. But here's the thing.
I'm sorry, Red Wings if I said Devils.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Letty might score more points this year. He's going to be the leader of that defense. I don't think he's great defensively. But, our style is just totally different than almost every other team in the league. So you're going to see these guys produce more. I mean, like I said, you got to subjugate your game to play for the Islanders. It's not for every player.
Yeah, again, I think the Red Wings, again, as I'll mention, Stevie Y knows how to build them. I think Zadina might take a step forward. Cedar, I think that's who it is there, the defenseman there for the Red Wings, and Lucas Raymond. You got guys coming up. They're going to be, thrust in the lineup. I think they're going to take a step forward. They're not going to be a playoff caliber team, but that's a team long term to watch the hell out for. And then Noah W says, "What are your guys' take on Ratu?"
4 years away.
Really? You think 4 years away? I think this is a guy who's going to be playing in the A next season. This year, he's going to be overseas, as we already know. Next year, he's going to be playing in the A. After that, I think he's maybe 2, absolute maximum of 3 years away. I think the organization, it's all big on whether the organization likes you. I think the organization likes him. I think the organization likes Bolduc, which is why he'll get a chance maybe before some other guys do that, maybe are as deserving.
He's a center, right? He's a center.
No, Ratu can also play the wing if need be.
Okay. Look at the contracts once again, how long we have guys signed for, right? I mean, you have Palmieri, 5 years. Bailey's got 3 more years on his deal. You have Nelson has 4 more years on his deal. I'm assuming they're going to re-up Barzell. Lee has 5 more years on his deal. Bavillier, I'm assuming they're going to re-sign him. He's got 4 more years on his deal. Where's he going to play? Where's he going to play? You're going to put him on the third line, an offensive player, another guy on the third line. You still have Wallstrom. These guys are all signed to long-term deals. There are no spots for young players. That's why I say 4 years.
Jim P said they played Aho once, and they played him on his offside. He's destined for Bridgeport, getting him ready to play the right side after Wild was loaned out.
They have no plans for him. None.
And then Tommy B said Otto Koivula is better on the wing. He's struggled in his transition to center. He played well a little bit. He played well in his first year there in center when he was playing with playmakers like your Josh Hosangs, like your Kiefer Bellows. He performed right when they had that line down there. And here's the thing. Here's an odd take. Maybe it was all Josh Hosang driving that production.
He's a line driver. He drives play. He's a creator. But I thought that Koivula worked well at the center position with Hosang, just like Brock Nelson did in their brief time together. I thought it made them both more productive.
Tommy B said, comparing LOL like comparing Otto to Brock. Yeah, Grumpy,
I'm not saying they're the same player. What I'm saying is TJ mentioned big guys who play a finesse style. That's the only comparison.
Jeremy F saying, can Ratu play the wing? Center seems to be locked up for a while.
But then you look at your wings, your top 6 wings are locked up too. Everything's locked up. I mean, for a team that doesn't score any goals, man, our top 6 is locked up for a long time. Just
Jim P also said they're doomed, or they're groomed. They groomed him for center for a few years, but now there's 0 openings with Pajot and Suzuki signed long term. It's time to move on from Otto. He needs to play for an organization that will give him a shot. Dude is hoping he gets picked up on waivers. Ditto for Aho.
Right, exactly. They have no shot to play in this organization.
I think though Otto Koivula is on a 2-way contract, so I don't think he's going to have to worry about being exposed there to waivers. But I know Aho is on a 1-way contract this year, so he'll be exposed. He could possibly be picked up on waivers.
I think Koivula has to go through waivers as well, just because of the age.
Okay. Scott L also said, every time people think the Pens' time is up, they defy the odds and have a good season. That is 100% right. And that's why I preface it by saying this is, it's funny that we're talking about the Penguins is, will they take a drop off there with injuries there to Malkin for substantial time? And right now, a current injury there to Sidney Crosby. I mean, they're a team that finished first in the division last year, but I always wonder, will the age catch up to this magical squad?
If they didn't have a goaltender in there wearing a mask over his eyes, they could have been eliminated by Tampa in the semifinals because they would have beaten us. Jari lost them that series, and then Boston, who knows? But then they could have lost to Tampa too. It didn't matter. Nobody was beating Tampa last year. It didn't matter.
So I've always wondered this about Pittsburgh. I wonder if they were like the old Detroit Red Wings when their dynasty was ending, when you had Zetterberg and Datsuk towards the tail end and they're throwing good money after bad. I've always wondered that. And if we're going to see their window, it's like coming more and more finite. It's closed, but they still have a little bit of a hope because hey, we finished first in the division. We can make a run, but they never do.
Right. Sometimes that championship mindset kind of pulls you through. And here's the thing, right? You still got Crosby, you still got Malkin. I know they're a little bit older.
Oh, Letang.
But they're all better than anybody on our team, all of them. I mean, maybe Barzell, but that's it. Other than that, those three players are better than anyone on our roster.
Okay, well, two of those players you mentioned are first ballot Hall of Famers, so yeah, they're better than any player on our roster, even at their advanced stage. I'd take if you were talking for a 1-year season, I'd take Crosby or Malkin over, any. I change them, pick and choose whatever player. I mean, Malkin kind of pisses me off with his hot temper, but Crosby's better than head over heels better than any player.
Okay, with the exception of Barzal, I take Crosby and or Malkin over anybody on our roster now. Anybody on our roster now, with the exception of Barzal.
Yeah.
They're just better players.
Yeah, that's for certain, Grumpy. Jeremy F said, nice Back to the Future reference. It's actually 1.21
gigawatts. 1.21. That's right, 1.21 gigawatts.
At 1.18. I'll be honest.
I think I said 1.81. It's 1.21. 1.21 gigawatts.
Gotcha. And then Tommy
they're selling plutonium at the corner drugstore.
Ratu has to go back. He's signed with his team in Finland for this season. Yeah, for certain.
It's about him just developing.
Jer Ben said, how many healthy scratch players are we allowed to keep? Like, how many players do we have on the roster total? We could have 3 healthy scratches, I believe.
Okay. I don't know if it's still different. Like at COVID, you had more. So I don't know if maybe it's different this year.
Oh, I think it's reverted back to what it was in the past.
I'll go with that.
Okay, Grump. I'm trying to pull that stuff. So yeah, it leaves for about 2 to 3 healthy scratches. So usually it's about 22 to 23 players on the NHL roster. 20 players are starting, 19 skaters, 19 skaters and a goalie. BK said Ratu looks good. Won't see him for 5 years under Trotz and Lou.
I say 4. And just because of the contract situations, you keep on signing everybody to long-term deals. I mean, and you never show any inclination of moving any of the veterans. You're kind of stuck with them. That's why it's just mismanagement. You're signing older players to long-term deals. They're not going anywhere. They're not marketable anywhere. You get what you get, and it holds the young guys down. Foolish.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it now that I had a chance to do the math. It's 18 players on the ice there. You address, 12 forwards, 6 defensemen.
Yeah, I think there's 23. Isn't it 23 players up? 23 players?
Yeah, 23 players. So you can have more healthy scratches than that.
3, right?
Yeah, it's at least 3. So yeah, you can at least have 3. But hold on, you have 23 men on the roster, right? You address
defensemen and 2 forwards. That's who it'll be.
Well, I'm just saying, right? We have so I thought it was 23 players. Okay.
Yeah, if you're playing 18 and 2 goalies, that's 20. So there's 3 healthy scratches.
Okay, gotcha. Awesome. Thank you there, Grumpy. Had to make sure we got the math right there. Mike L said he has military duties, 6 months mandatory.
That must be Ratu.
Oh, I didn't know that. And then Tommy B said, as good as Salo has been, 6 to 8 weeks in Bridgeport playing top pair minutes is better for him. I do agree with that.
I agree. 100%.
I do agree. But here's the thing, right? Once we get him ready and he's ready, I mean, he could be ready after 6 to 8 weeks and he could be lightening up there in Bridgeport. He'll never get a chance. He'll sit down there in Bridgeport unless an injury happens.
But that's right, barring injuries.
And here's the thing, right? Like we talked about it. We were lucky. And it's going to be bad to say, we were lucky at the Islanders 2 years ago that Thomas Hickey did get injured for that short time period, because if not, we never would have seen Devon Taves. Once Devon Taves went up there, you saw the winning percentage extremely jump in the correct direction, and you saw the Islanders really kick it in overdrive. So, if you're right, if Thomas Hickey was not injured, we never would have seen Devon Taves 2 years or 3 seasons ago.
That's right, 3 seasons ago. But here's the thing, right? Taves was the better player by far. And he didn't get the spot. To me, I'm sorry, that's where Barry's wrong. Dead wrong every time. I don't care what his age is. The best players should play. Period. Best players play.
Nick D said, great show as always, guys. Keep up the great work. Appreciate that, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Noah W said, Grumpy, do you like Trotz at all?
Yes, I do. He and Lou are the reason for the resurgence of the Islanders, but that doesn't mean that they walk on water. And I don't treat them like that. A lot of people do, because they're used to the Islanders being losers for years and years and years. They've never seen a winner. A lot of these fans have never seen a winning Islander program for long periods of time. But I don't look at it that way. I look, okay, we're here. Are you happy just being here? Making the playoffs every year, maybe making a little run every once in a while, but never being a contender for a Stanley Cup. If you're happy with that, you'll be happy with them. I just feel that we need to make I want to win Stanley Cups. That's the bottom line. And I don't know if Trotz is the guy to get us there. Just don't.
And then Jeremy F. said, I think Varlamov and Sorokin will be pretty close to a 50-50 split.
I would hope Sorokin gets more games. And I think if Varlamov's healthy, it'll be more Varlamov than Sorokin. But I want the other way around. Sorokin should be the guy. He's the best goalie. Best player. Once again, best player should play.
Drew S. said, I'm sorry, Matt Martin kills penalty. When is the last time he's played any special teams? He does not play on the penalty kill. You guys are better than this. I will say, Drew, here's the thing. He's not a consistent. I'm saying he can play the penalty kill. He had one hit, I believe, last year on the penalty kill, which would indicate he played the penalty kill. Also he had very limited time on the power play. Again, a guy doesn't play significant time on the power play, but did have, I think, a power play goal and assist or something like that. So again, the guy doesn't play. I'm just saying, when you're looking at guys who are versatile, if worse comes worse and you're in a pinch, Matt Martin technically could play a penalty kill. I don't feel too confident. Well, I mean, Otto Koivula technically today did play the penalty kill. But again, talking about, Ross Johnson, I don't think he's ever going to be thrown out there in any type of penalty kill. He's one of the last guys off the bench for the penalty kill.
Yeah, that was a blunder by TJ saying that he kills penalties. But he did play on the power play last year when Lee got hurt. He did have some time in that Anders Lee spot. So, but he's not a specialist player anymore. He's barely even a regular player, in my opinion. He's a $6 million man.
Jeremy F. said, if the lines are Lee, Barzal, Palmieri, Beauvillier, Brock Nelson, Josh Bailey, then you've got Parise, you've got John Gabriel Pajot, Oliver Wahlstrom, Matt Martin, Casey Zizekas, and Kyle Clutterbuck. How many goals would you project from each line? How would you project the defensive core?
Wow, that's an awful lot of math, Jeremy.
Goal production out of the first line. What I'm thinking
75, 80 goals, maybe.
I'm thinking if healthy, I want, Anders Lee to at least have 30 some odd goals, Kyle Palmieri to at least have 20 plus goals, and I think Matt Barzal needs to have 25 plus goals.
So 80?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
Second line.
That's not a whole lot of goals from your first line.
I'm saying at least. I'm just saying that's for first line, that's not a whole lot of goals. Second line, all right, so let's say 80. Second line, let's say 65. And I'll go with Nelson having 30, Beauvillier having 30, and Bailey having 5. Usually ones that back him up the skate. Stop. Okay, come on. Give Bailey his due. We'll probably have like 10, maybe 15 goals.
But let's say 65 goals there. That's 145 as a team. Then the third line, Pajot's maybe good for 20. Parise 10.
Go
15, 10, 15, and 15, maybe 40 for the third line.
Oh, come on. What? 40 for the third line? Get the hell out of here. What are you thinking? Oliver Wahlstrom's not going to, well, hey, if Oliver Wahlstrom doesn't play, maybe that will be effective. But if Wahlstrom's playing on that third line, he's going to get power play minutes. I'm thinking Wahlstrom is a shoe-in if he gets power play minutes for 20 goals. Shoe-in. No doubt about it. I think Pajot will have something like 17 goals this season, and I think Pajot getting 17 goals. Parise maybe like 15, 17. Okay. So I'm thinking production for that third line is going to be closer to 50, 55 at least.
Okay, and the bottom line maybe 20. Maybe 20.
Saying 25, 30.
No,
okay.
I'm not saying that many. There's no way they score that many.
And maybe I was wrong here. I'm looking at this, Drew S. Again, I don't know why I keep speaking like Matt Martin kills penalties. I'm just thinking maybe he's got the ability to kill. He threw one hit last year on the penalty kill on shorthanded, so it doesn't kill penalties. I'm just thinking if he does have the ability to, but he doesn't anymore. So I misspoke. I apologize.
Yeah, screwed up.
I got to do better.
TJ's not better than that. Don't say you guys don't lump me in with him when he makes his statements. I never said
that. Goodness. I got to do better than that. Scott L said, Grumpy, that shirt will become glued to you waiting on the other shirts.
Oh, you know what I should do? I should just go out and get a tattoo on my chest. That's what I should do.
God almighty. Alexander said, "Who cares about this preseason?" Like Grumpy said, we already know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a chance to see the young guys who are not going to play for the next couple of years. That's all it is.
Nick D said, "I agree. Grumpy should wear this shirt until TJ makes the shirts. Come on, TJ. Let's see some shirts and hats." And what is that? What is that? What is that word, Grumpy?
I don't know. Now,
Uh,
remember, Nick is from Canada, so maybe it's a French Canadian word.
Duquesne? I don't know. I don't even know what the hell that is.
I don't know.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to say something I don't know the answer to.
K Jansen 56 said, "I'm a Devils fan and watched the game today. What was wrong with the Islanders broadcast? Seemed really unpolished." Well, those are the guys who do a podcast, the Everyday or something like that. They do an Islanders podcast. So Grumpy, I was looking at that fellow on the right hand side's hair, and I'm like, ooh, I hope people don't think his hair looks like my hair, because I think if that's the case, man, oh man, I need to do something different with my hair. Maybe I should just shave it all off.
They should let us call the game, honestly. It would have been way more entertaining. That much I could tell you.
Andrew L said, "TJ should have an Excel spreadsheet of all the players' birthdays prepared for when the podcast starts."
Yeah, that's true.
I should have a rolling birthday every single time I move them down.
Anybody who's born in October, they get the extra year added to their age. I'm sorry.
Time B said, "This is professional sport. Cowards give up. Professionals never stop fighting."
Yeah. See, Tommy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about right there. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Young players, I think, are more impressionable. Here's the thing, though, right? Are you trying to tell me that Andrew Ladd he's a coward? He's not a professional. He said the same exact thing. He said he felt like, hey, I was buried in the depth chart. I never had a chance. This has given me new life. So, like, it's easy to say, all right, keep grinding away. But when it's year after year after year, it's easy to kind of get down on your hopes and down on your luck a little bit. There's a lot you see Barry Trotz talk about confidence. They talked about with Simon Holmstrom. Hey, he's feeling more and more confident in his game, right? You're not feeling too confident in your game if you're saying, hey, no matter what happens, I'm destined to be in Bridgeport this year.
There's no drive. I mean, here's the thing. And yeah, it's a professional sport. Guess what? As a professional, your career is so limited, and your time of being a player is so finite. If you see yourself buried, it's like, dude, I'm not putting out for this team. I have no shot. They're there to make money. They're cutting off any chance these guys have to earn a living.
Scott L said, "Grumpy, have you seen the new Rocky versus Drago Rocky 4 director's cut trailer?"
God,
I saw that.
I have not seen the trailer, but I heard Drago was training a fighter, Rocky's training a fighter, and it's I just wonder if they're both going to go at it somehow too. I don't know. I have heard of it. I've not seen it though. I'm going to have to look that up now.
Hold on, I can get it pulled up.
Not right now, not during the podcast, but I will need to. Yeah, you can pull that up, DJ. That's fine. But I mean, you think about how far that Rocky series has gone. I remember, okay, I'm going to show my age. I remember watching Rocky, the original, which won the Academy Award for Best Picture. I remember seeing that in the movie theaters when it came out. And it was like, oh man, you're young. I mean, I was young at the time. And I was thinking, gosh, I said, that wasn't 3 minutes. That last round wasn't 3 minutes. Let it go on further. Just stupid. The freaking movie, Grumpy. It's a movie.
I was about to say, Grumpy, it's a freaking movie.
But you're into it. I mean, hey, it's a great movie. It really is. Total. I mean, that made Sylvester Stallone, right? What did he not do? They wanted just the story. He says, I won't do the story unless I get to play the role and all that stuff. And he stuck to his guns, and it made him a career.
Noah W said, "Thoughts on Bolduc?" Bolduc. I'm sorry, Bolduc.
I know you always say his name wrong. That's okay.
People get pissed at me, say it's Duke, Bolduc. They get pissed at me when I say certain things wrong. I'm sorry, I'm illiterate.
He's Bridgeport bound.
Bridgeport bound.
Oh, shot. Sorry. Nope.
Alexander said, yeah, Robin Salo looked awesome so far, but of course, Trotz is not going to give him a shot.
If any of these guys had a legitimate chance, they wouldn't have signed Zdeno Chara.
That being said, Robin Salo, I think, would benefit from 6 to 8 weeks, just like Coach Tommy B said. He would benefit from time in Bridgeport. As much as we want to give the young guys a chance, he needs to be playing in Bridgeport to start the season. Top line of minutes.
100% agree. But you know what? You're allowed to learn in the NHL too. It doesn't have to be in the AHL. Look at the NFL. Young quarterbacks are playing earlier. Why? Because you can get them. They can pay you, make your best of your team better by playing the cheaper players.
I got a funny comment, Grumpy. Frank K said, Grumpy old man actually has a better shot of making the Islanders over Wallstrom or
That's true.
Bellows. He's the perfect age.
Absolutely. I can play on the first line. Me and Leo.
Oh,
Matt Barzell. Could be the helicopter line part 2.
oh.
We could be the heliport line because we couldn't skate at all.
Oh, Jeremy F said, Grumpy old man, I agree that the young players are more motivated if they see a chance of making the team. Clutterbuck will be re-signed for 2 to 3 years, and there really aren't any forward openings except that third line left wing. I don't think Clutterbuck will play. I think Clutterbuck retires after this year. I really do. He's lost feeling in his last 2 fingers. I heard he was close to retiring 2 years ago.
What the hell does that matter to the Islanders? Travis Zajac lost his total game, and somehow he was here. Zach Parise lost his total game, and he got a contract here. Old guys love playing here. But Jeremy is exactly right. You need something to strive for. When you see all these guys with long-term contracts that you're better than, no less, you know you have no shot of making the teams. Like, trade me.
Here's the thing. I don't think that they're better than. I get this now. It's like when you're a professional, there's a lot of levels, and you look at players. Unless you're a top tier player, a lot of the players are talent wise contribute different items, but end output is sort of similar. And when you see guys that you think that, hey, I'm as good as this guy, or maybe I slightly think, my offense is a little better. Maybe I think, my vision, my ability to pass is better than this guy. Maybe I don't play as great defense, but I'm doing this better than him. And no matter what happens, you're never going to be given a chance. I think a lot of the players that are kind of towards the bottom end are all similar. I really have always believed that.
Yeah.
So, call me crazy, but moving right along, Andrew L. said Sorokin saved our ass against the Penguins.
He did. Because as you remember, Varlamov was always giving up goal in the first minute, goal in the first 40 seconds, first shot on goal. I mean, he got yanked. Sorokin won the spot. But, of course, what happens? Sorokin loses one game. Oh, that's it. Let's get Varlamov back in there. Screw you, Sorokin. We don't care.
I will tell you, if that's the biggest issue we've got with Barry, that's a great thing, because both goalies are outstanding goalies in this system. Both goalies, pure talent wise, I think Sorokin excels anywhere he plays. I think Varlamov excels specifically because of the system.
Yeah.
Or his performance is elevated because of the system. I think Sorokin could be successful goalie anywhere he plays, even if he was on a run and gun style offense. I think he would still succeed.
That's my whole point. Varlamov is a solid goalie. Solid goalie, benefits from the system, just like Leonard did, just like Greiss did. Sorokin is an extremely talented goalie who, within this system and these goalie coaches, could be elite, absolutely elite. That's why best players play. Always the best player should always play the most amount of time. Period.
Christopher C. saying, Grumpy has a point. We should balance the lines with youngsters and vets.
It's not going to happen, though. Like I said, they think re-signing their own guys is the way to go. I don't, because we've not been good enough. The only team that should re-sign their own guys is Tampa. Why? Because they won 2 Stanley Cups in a row. They're at the top.
And then Paulo C said Salo should get a shot in the lineup, but the problem is, where do they put him? Because he's not the type of player to be a 5th or 6th defenseman.
He's not going to get a shot, so it doesn't matter. You might see him playing bottom 6 minutes, maybe a bottom pair of minutes, maybe with Mayfield. And then maybe give Chara a night off, slide Green up to play with Dobson, that type of thing. You're going to have someone who is a stay-at-home defenseman. Dobson's going to be your puck mover on one line, Pulak on the other, and whoever, Salo or Green on the bottom pairing. Those are going to be your puck movers. The other guys are stay-at-home. So I have no problem with that. But I just don't think you're going to see it.
Got another comment here. Tommy B saying Gustafsson is 29 years old. He is not an old guy. I will tell you one thing about Gustafsson. He's going to be your seventh defenseman. He is what he is. He's a guy who's been swapped on 4 different teams in the last 2 years. I'm not expecting him to be an outstanding player. I'm expecting him to be, maybe as a serviceable seventh defenseman. He's a guy who is, tailor-made for more of an offensive puck-moving role. He's not a guy who excels on the defensive side of the puck. If you're hemmed up in your zone, and again, if you're playing against an elite caliber team, remember the 2 games or the 3 games we've played so far in preseason are against a AHL majority New York Rangers, a Philadelphia Flyers team, and a AHL majority New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, and okay, he's not an old guy, but here's the thing: he's not 21 and 22, so he's a veteran.
He is what he is. Yeah, you're right. He's a vet. He is what he is. I'm not expecting him to improve. I'm expecting him to say exactly what he is and what he has been. A guy who, for the most part, is interchangeable, could mix between teams.
And the biggest problem I have with him is he doesn't play any defense, which should not fly on a Barry Trotz defense-oriented team. Should never fly.
Alexander saying, I still have faith, Grumpy. Dolphins will make the playoffs.
AFC's pretty weak. Maybe.
John V said, if Leo Komarov gets any ice time at all in the absence of an injury, there's something wrong.
That's what we're hearing. We're hearing he could be opening night starter.
Mikey Mall says, your hot takes, old man, are so ridiculous you can't possibly believe them. I'll grant you there is some truth to them, but then you go overboard and say stupid stuff.
Here's the thing. I'll grant you that they're truth. That's the whole thing. They're truth.
I think there's some truth behind everything you say, but I think I think there's a little bit of an extreme. It's like, hey, I can get on board. And it's like, wow, you go overboard. I do agree kind of with this.
Here's the thing. This show is not an infomercial for the Islanders. It's entertainment with expert analysis by myself, and TJ does whatever he does.
Well, here's the thing we've always said. Our show is not a show to where we say exactly what you're seeing out there on every other site. Our show is, I want to play devil's advocate, plus and minus. I want to show you, hey, here's maybe the contrary to what is being propagated out there by the Islanders media cartel. That's the reason we started this podcast. We noticed it's like the Islanders media is in like an echo chamber where everything they say is the exact same. Oh, this is great. Here's the reason why. Oh, this is great. Here's the reason why. Let me just go ahead and parrot everything around. That's not what information is. That's not what entertainment is. And that's why we started this podcast, 4 or 5 years ago.
And here's the thing. The way I talk here is exactly the way I talk in real life. There's nothing. I don't hold anything back. If I sat down and was having a beer with you, this is exactly what I would say and how I would say it to you.
What's your beer of choice, Grumpy? That's the question all the fans want to know.
I don't drink alcohol. So while you're drinking a beer and I'm drinking a water, there you go.
I say if you sat down and had a beer with us, I just wondering what your beer of choice was.
Okay. I don't drink beer, okay?
Paul O.C. said, in the preseason, I tried Pavillier with Barzal and drop lead to the second line with Nelson. Barzal needs at least one fast, young skater, and Pavillier can score at least 30 with Barzal if they gel.
People forget Eberle, Pavillier, and Barzal was the best line on this team 3 years ago. Barry broke it up. Who knows why? I always felt that Lee is a better match with Nelson and Bailey. But Barry doesn't seem to think so. Barry's choice wins out over mine, even though mine is right and his is wrong.
Andriel said, TJ, incorporate the YouTube comments more, a little more, too. Come on, man. I just read them in order. So sometimes it's going to seem like it's heavy from one area. I just read them however the comments feed in. Nick D said, Grumpy, why is TJ taking so long to get the Grumpy's Groupie shirts out? Sad about 26. I'd like to see him in the opening night lineup. Hey, we're working on getting a designer because I can't do a sufficient job. I don't want to produce something out there that's not quality. We're going to hire somebody to do it for us, and we've got a list of the people we're working on. Grumpy and I'm sure going to have another meeting here after the podcast, hopefully get an ironed away of who we're going to have do what designs.
Okay. And, I hate to come to TJ's defense ever because it's not what I like to do, but he's really busy. I mean, he's really busy. He does a lot of different things. And for this podcast, he does absolutely everything.
Well, here's the thing.
So,
We're getting it worked on. Just to give you the update, we've Grumpy and I have gone over it. We've got it limited down to about like 15 to 20 different individuals.
okay, that's a mistake telling somebody that you're limited down to 15 or 20.
Hey, we've done the research. We've got our process, and we've got a few different designs we're throwing out there. So we're going to have a few different people make different designs, and however we like it, we'll continue there. But we're going to have professionals do it. It's not going to be me and Grumpy producing some rinky-dink product. We're going to have some professionals do it. So hopefully the quality's good. I know my limitations. Alexander said it's amazing that Lou has not hammered some of the boneheaded decisions that he's made throughout his Islanders term. I think maybe he's been bailed out by the Islanders, the run the Islanders have made the last 2 years.
I think the reason why he's not been hammered with some of his bonehead decisions, and there have been, the re-signing of the over 30-year-old crowd to long-term deals is absolutely a mistake. The reason why is because, number one, he's Lou Lamoriello. That's number one. Winner of 3-4 Stanley Cups, and I think it's 3 or 4 Stanley Cups with the Devils. I can't even remember now. It's been a long time since then, though. But you win that, you have certain cachet. His standing in the league, and the fact that the Islanders were absolutely abysmal for many, many years before he came in, that gives him a little bit of time. And people just, in Lou we trust, in Barry we trust. Well, you know what? I trust them, but if you really want to win a Stanley Cup, you can't do it with a bunch of old guys. It never works. Absolutely never in today's day and age. Maybe 30 years ago, you could have got away with it, but the game has changed since then. It's predicated on speed and skating and offensive ability with the way the goaltenders are. The grinded out style is not going to win in the long run. Not with guys. And like I said, the last 2 years, we were lucky that they were shortened seasons. I'm afraid we're going to see that this year. Let's see how our guys hold up over full 82.
That's the thing I've always worried about. I think, regular season, I just want to make sure we make the playoffs. I think, our division is not as tough as some divisions out there. And it's all about, hey, how healthy can we be and how much tread do we have on the tires come postseason? It's all it's about. 82-game season, first time in a while. Brett W. says, Bellows now has 4 goals in 5 games playing with Barzal, including this preseason game. It really makes me nuts that Trotz cannot see there's chemistry there.
They don't like it. It's just plain and simple. They don't like him ever since he
doesn't want to see there's chemistry. He hates Bellows.
It's true. They had this is Josh Hosang 2.0. Okay. He had the steroid issue a couple of years ago, and that was it. He's done. He's done in this organization. They'll let him rot on the vine until he can't sign a contract. Then he'll go somewhere else, and Josh Hosang against the Islanders probably score a bunch of goals.
Nick D said, could you imagine when Atu Ratu is ready to play in 4 years, we'll still have average and Casey playing on this team?
Like 35, 36 years old. That works. That's really great.
I tell you. Yeah. So to me, interesting to see what happens for those. I like to try to avoid looking that far down the road because it's a dark alleyway. Ooh.
I just wish that we would try to move some of the older guys just to bring some fresh blood in. I mean, I know we play well together as a unit, but sometimes you need something else. You just can't go with the same old and expect different results.
Josh M says the top 6 is locked for now. Why couldn't they make a trade? Why couldn't they make a trade down the line to free up a spot for Ratu? Like you always say, the team isn't getting younger. There's a few years the team, will not look the same. So like I've always believed, hey, I don't think Lou Lamoriello is going to be here for more than maybe about 3. I mean, the guy's old. I couldn't see him being a general manager into his 80s. What is he, 76, 77 years old now?
77, 78, but that doesn't matter. They're just going to bring Fredo in.
No, there's no way in hell Chris Lamoriello is going to be brought in as general manager. I'd be appalled. This organization's about winning. This organization's about a level of professionalism that the team didn't have under prior ownership.
I disagree totally. We're about the good old boys, making sure these old guys all keep jobs, make sure Fredo has a job. We're going to slide Fredo up into the front office spot when Lou's done.
come to Lou's defense here. You've said this before on the podcast, and I agree with this, right? I think Lou Lamoriello designs and creates a team based off of what the head coach wants.
Yes.
So, I mean, what we see out of the acquisitions we make at the trade deadline, free agency, this is all due to Lou and Barry being on the same page of Barry saying, this is what I want. Lou saying, okay, how can we make sure we tailor make the team to what you want?
Yes, 100% agree with that. Like I said, I rip on Lou because it's easy and it's fun. But you're right. I 100% have always said that he works with his coach, whatever the coach wants. He tries to mold the team that way because they've all been different. In Jersey, it was different. It was different in Toronto, and it's different here. For me, I just feel that the reason, first of all, Ratu was not ready to play in the NHL. So it's not an issue this year. But to me, my offseason last year, I would have done everything I could to get Tarasenko, including moving Josh Bailey. Even if I had to take on some salary, no problem there at all. You need to have a sniper playing with Matt Barzal. That's not Anders Lee, and it's not Kyle Palmieri.
You want to know the thing I'm looking forward to? I've got a few things I'm looking at this year that are not directly towards the Islanders, but will always cause me to wonder. There's a few things, right? Will Josh Ho-Sang make the Toronto Maple Leafs? That's one thing I'm looking for. How does Devon Toews continue to play? And big one also I'm looking at, how does Tarasenko look? How does Vladimir Tarasenko look, right? Because he said, hey, he's looking healthy, he's looking fit, he's looking like a meat, he's looking like a monster out there, is what the St. Louis beat writer is saying. That being said, he gets some slack because he totes the company line a lot. So is the guy just saying exactly what he's supposed to say, or is saying what the general manager wants him to say? So I'll be interested to see how Tarasenko looks, because guess what? If he lights it up and scores points in droves, ladies and gentlemen, we missed the opportunity. We missed the boat. If he comes out there and tears the shoulder, hats off and applauds to our, obviously our medical staff and to Lou Lamoriello, and obviously unfortunate for Vladimir Tarasenko. Again, I wish the guy nothing but success. I don't wish injuries on anybody.
And that's all off season. What was I saying? I'd much rather have 2 years of Vladimir Tarasenko than 5 years of Kyle Palmieri, because let's say in 2 years, that gives Oliver Wahlstrom a chance to mature into the player you want him to be. And then he can seamlessly slide in when Tarasenko's 31. And let's say you don't want to resign him. You have a younger player who's ready to step in and fill that role. Now, Kyle Palmieri is cemented in as your first line wing for another 4 or 5 years, right? I mean, or 4 years, whatever it is. I mean, I don't understand it. I'd rather, if you want to win a Stanley Cup, you needed to change the dynamic. We didn't do that this offseason. We just brought back the same cast of characters and added a 37-year-old Zach Parise and a 44-year-old Zdeno Chara. That's not a recipe to win a Stanley Cup. Tarasenko could have potentially gotten us there because it changed the offensive dynamic for us. But we didn't do that. We chose not to. We wanted to play it cheap. Whatever we decided to do, it didn't happen. And it'll prove to be a mistake, in my opinion.
Moving right along there. Grumpy old man Jesse B said, man, beer sounds good. Hey, I can go for a nice bottle of wine, Grumpy. A nice family size bottle of wine.
That family size. Those are like big jugs. Those aren't what the winos drink.
Hey, it's imagine just like 2 bottles of wine. Just go ahead. I don't even need to use a glass. I look so classy when I do it too. Mikey M said, I agree, you're entertaining, Grump, but in my opinion, when you go too far, it comes off as hacky and fake. Well, I can tell you, or maybe tacky and fake. I can tell you, Grumpy's not fake. I'm sure everything he says he believes. I can tell you, I can tell when you're being facetious and joking and being real. Ask me for endless examples.
I don't need any of your examples. I don't need any examples. Thank you.
Oh goodness. Jared Ben said, I'll be honest, boys, I think we played really good tonight. Honestly, I'm shocked we didn't win. This is a game to where we did play well. I thought we looked dominant. I think the Devils didn't have their starting lineup out there tonight. I think we looked dominant. And we outshoot them like 2-1, 3-1 out there tonight, Grumpy.
Yeah, exhibition doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's all about getting your legs, getting in shape. Maybe see some young players or see somebody who has a chance to bust out and make the team. It's just not what happens with our organization.
Gotcha. Jesse B also said, "Do either of you have an update on Simon Holmstrom?"
He's played like shit.
Hell of an update, Grump.
And they're trying to pump him up because he's a Lou draft pick. Because you know why? Because he can't. They know he can't play.
They're trying to pump him up because it was a guy that we over-selected based off of every single report that year, every single draft report, everybody out there, right? A guy who was coming off of an injury, off of playing in a second Swedish league, wasn't even playing in the Swedish Elite League, had good performance 2 years ago, and then, was injured his draft class year. Those guys historically slip and fall. We overdrafted a guy like that where you had players that were on the board. I'm going to be interested to see how Connor McMichael does after he had 7 pounds of muscle on his body frame, how he looks there for the Washington Capitals, how an Arthur Kaliev looks there for the Los Angeles Kings, and how a Philip Tomasino looks there for the Nashville Predators. Those are going to be always pieces I watch, and I'm always going to be kicking myself there. We've said this for 3 or 4 years. We were talking about this before the draft, after the draft happened. It doesn't take much to be able to analyze, hey, when that year's draft class was stout in talent, especially on the forward side of the puck, on the offensive side of the puck, and we picked a guy that was way off the board, which will always drive me insane. I even would have been happy with an Evan Lavoie type of guy. I've always thought that he could be an offensive player and producer.
No,
I know you haven't been big on Evan Lavoie. I've always been a big Evan Lavoie type of guy too.
Yeah, no. I'm going to stick by my guns and say if this team was drafting when Matt Barzal's draft year came up, they never would have picked him. Never, not in a million years.
This year's draft was good, though. So what makes you say that?
What was your question?
This year's draft, we picked. I thought we did an excellent job selecting. What makes you think that we would not have selected Matt Barzal?
Because they don't like him. They don't like his style. It's okay taking a chance on somebody like that in the second round, but not in the first round. If they had a first-round pick, do you think they would have picked Ratu, or were they taking another Simon Holmstrom type?
Well,
they're risk averse.
We've not had too many first-round draft picks under this regime.
Okay, here's the thing. What was the worst thing he probably said to Lamarillo and Trotz when they interviewed him for pre-draft? It says, I padded my game after Matt Barzal. Nope.
No.
He's off our board.
Hey, do you also think he maybe said, hey, I model my game, I want to produce as much offense as possible, and they said, nope, we do not encourage offense around here? Is that what you think it was, Grumpy?
I don't think he said that. Because he's even said, he says, I patterned my game after Matt Barzal. And if you look at when I told you,
really say that?
Yes. And I remember when we watched the film on him, it was like, oh man, he looks like Barzal. That's why I wanted him. We needed another creator at center, but I think that was it. Because they don't like Bars. I'm not saying they don't like him. They want to change him as a player. That's what they want to do. They want to take. If Matt Barzal played for another organization, he'd be 100 point a year guy. I firmly believe that. Here, 70, 75.
Grumpy, it's funny, right? How you remember that. You're not wrong here on this, Grumpy old man. I'll pull it up here. He does model his game after Matt Barzal, as he says here, right?
Yeah.
Just the headlines there read, Islanders Matt Barzal model for a future NHLer there, Philip Tomasino.
Anything that proves my point, I remember.
He's smooth to the puck, makes plays. Okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
And that's exactly what we need. And he went right after
the selection after.
Right after we picked Casper. I remember, I'm like, and we had all 3 guys there. Those 3 guys were the 3 I was looking at. And it was Tomasino, McMichael, and Kaliev. Maybe even Kaliev I had ahead of McMichael because he was a goal scorer.
McMichael, let's remember, McMichael going into his draft class year had the one big explosion onto the scene in the O for the London Knights. And then, he'd never really done it before. Always those late risers you kind of worry about. But hey, you look at that guy. You look at the draft picture, he had acne all over his face. You could tell he was a late developer. So it really didn't shock me that, hey, he came onto the scene late. The guy is still a boy.
Right. But those are the guys that I wanted. Those 3. Casper Holm, they could have gotten him in the second round if they wanted him. He was not highly rated. He was injured for the 2 years previously. He always had injuries. And, it's proved out that it's just not very good
compared to what selections were around him. I don't think he'll ever be as good as the 3 guys we've always mentioned and we'll continue to mention. So,
and 3 Amigos was from D-Cut. He gave us that nickname.
Mario saying, there is nobody in any sports league that has lived more on his reputation than Lamoriello. To put in perspective, if you had a son or daughter who was born on the day the Devils won their last cup, he or she would be entering his or her senior year in high school. What makes anybody think that he still knows how to build a Stanley Cup championship team?
Well, okay,
Mario, I think, is being a little extreme here on this.
yeah. I
Now,
mean,
now, I think that there's one person who has lived more off his reputation than anybody else. Who the hell is that guy? He's the coach at FAU. Grumpy old man.
FAU.
Oh, yeah. What the hell is his name?
FAU. I don't even know what FAU is.
Oh, is he no longer the coach there? Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin has lived more off of the Kiffin name than anybody else.
She's talking about general managers.
I'm just talking about, you talk about head coaches, general managers, people living off the name that other people have created.
Okay. Guess what? FAU was a long way down from head coach of the Oakland Raiders and USC.
No, Lane Kiffin is now the coach at Ole Miss. But okay, gotcha. I couldn't remember he had left there. But I'm just saying, hey, Lane Kiffin's a guy who's lived off of his name despite lack of performance more than any other coach, general manager, I think, in the history of the sport.
He's the Fredo to his dad's Monty Kiffin.
Yes, that's my point, right?
Yeah.
You look at a guy.
Okay, here's the thing. Now, Mario's a little over the top, which I'm fine with. I don't care. But Lou Lamoriello was a spectacular general manager. I mean, he kept those Devils were contenders for years and years and years. Won 3, I think it's 3, or I don't know if it was 3 or 4. I want to say 3 Stanley Cups. But you know what? Time passes everybody by, and I just feel when the salary cap came in, that was kind of the downfall for him, and that's what I think cost him his job in Toronto. Was the fact that, you know what, you can't sign guys like Matt Martin to $2.5 million a year and then they don't play. I don't think Dumas is that good either, but he certainly turned this organization around. There's no doubting that. Okay,
brought legitimacy to the organization too that we've never had beforehand. Lamoriello, yeah, the Devils did win those 3 cups.
Okay, the best movie ever made was bringing in Barry Trotz as coach. That's the best movies made out of all his player moves. I don't agree with most of them. It's really almost the same team for the most part that was here that they took over from Garth Snow's years. It's not much different.
Brett W. said, when the age of the team catches up to them, they are forced to rebuild. What are the odds Trotz leaves? So like it's one or two ways. I honestly believe this. There's one or two things that can happen if we can manage, and this always will prove, his tenure, and I think it will wrap up if he's still the general manager, how great of a general manager he is. We've got a lot of the big producers, and a lot of the important pieces of our team are really young. Look at the Matt Barzal, really young. You look at the Anthony Beauvilliers, you look at the Oliver Wallstroms, who you want to be big producers, again, young. You look at the Noah Dobsons, you look at a defensive core, you look at the guys we've got in the system that are young. You look at the Sorokins, that's a guy who's young, entering the prime of his career. So you have a lot of the pieces, you have a lot of the cornerstones. It's, can you manage to have the right pieces around those cornerstones? And how could you offload contracts that are going to be bad contracts towards the tail end of their career?
Right. I don't think they even show an inclination to get rid of contracts that are at the end.
Okay. Not yet, though. Remember, they're still going for cup. They're going all out push for the cup. And they did get rid of Andrew Ladd to free up cap space, and they did so. And that move was good this offseason, no doubt about it.
Okay. Why are you signing guys to long-term deals like that? And that's what he did in Toronto too.
Because he wanted to keep their cap pip as low as possible.
Well, then let him go. They're not that. The players are just not that good. They're just not that good.
That's who Barry Trotz wanted.
Anders Lee is not. Yeah, but Anders Lee is not a $7 million a year player. He didn't have a market out there for that.
Hold on. I think the term was way too long. $7 million a year is not bad for Anders Lee. This is a guy who's a consistent 30-goal-a-year scorer. And if he's having 20-plus assists, I mean, you're looking at least 50, 55, 60 points a season. You're trying to tell me on the first line that doesn't earn you? And the captain of the team, that doesn't earn you $7 million.
I don't care if he's a captain of the team. He means nothing for money. Absolutely nothing. It's what you do on the ice. He's not worth $7 million a year. He's never worth $7 million a year. Absolutely never. And you remember that deal was signed, 2 years ago? If it was signed today, he wouldn't be getting $7 million a year. It's just not that good. There's only one guy in this whole team who deserves to make a lot of money, and that's Matt Barzal. Nobody else deserves to be paid anywhere near. He's the whole freaking team. He drives the whole offense. If we lose Matt Barzal to injury, we will not make the playoffs. That much I can guarantee you.
Yeah, we'd struggle. I don't doubt that. We would struggle. I mean, like, we look at last year, right? We didn't have Anders Lee for the majority of the season, still made the playoffs, still made
Same thing.
Finals, same seven. And that's an excellent job coaching by Barry Trotz. Although I do think that we could have had a better spot in. It's a great system, excellent system, terrific system. That being said, we could have had a little bit better first line left winger, in my opinion. But hey, we'll let it slide. You could have had somebody better than Travis Zajac out there. That being said, excellent system, but yeah, Matt Barzal is one of those guys. If you missed him, we're not going to have the same output we did, like as if we missed Anders Lee.
Right, we didn't miss Anders Lee last year.
Okay, we did miss Anders Lee because we rolled out Leo Komarov. Okay, so we did miss him.
Well, but we brought in Palmieri. Same thing. Is what it is. Last year. We weren't good enough last year. Weren't good enough 2 years ago.
Mario said there, Grumpy Old Man, why don't you ask Bob Babcock if Lamoriello worked with him?
I think they had a good working relationship. I mean, here's the thing. That's the type of I firmly believe that he works with the coaches. Now, in New Jersey, it was different. He ran everything there, and he handpicked those coaches. I think Babcock was there before Lamoriello got there, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. You'll have to look.
Babcock had a lot of the issues in Detroit or in Toronto afterwards. What he brought Mitch Marner in and asked for like the hardest working guys on the team or something like that, and showed the list around to the players or something like that. I can't remember that. That was in his rookie season. Oh, he had the issue with Mitch Marner, didn't he?
I don't remember. But I mean, here's the thing. Mike Babcock, his teams were not predicated on just playing rock solid defense. They were offense. That's what he always played in Detroit. They were always able to score. They had good defense, but I mean, that's what happens when you have a Lindstrom back there for years and years.
Lindstrom and Chelios. Yeah, he had two Hall of Fame defensemen.
When you have those players, you can play that type of style. The one thing he could never get was a couple of linchpin defensemen like that. They're hard to come by. They're really, really tough to get.
Yeah, that's right. I'm looking back at this, Grumpy. Babcock did have the issue with Mitch Marner, but tell me this: like, I know Toronto fans want to burn Mitch Marner at the stake because the playoff performance hasn't been there. But yeah, you're right. He did have that. He allegedly asked the least rookie at the time period, Mitch Marner, to make a list of the team's hardest working in the eyes of a rookie who had strong work ethic, and he told the players who had listed at the bottom about Marner's ranking.
Yeah, well, he's for certain. Babcock is old school. For certain. That's why I like him. I like Mike Babcock.
Well, there's a reason he's without a job still.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
Mikey M said we do need to infuse young guys and at least have Bellows have as the extra, Salo, Aho, or Bolduc as a defense straight up split 40 to 50% of the games with Zdeno and Green.
Not going to happen.
I wish that would happen, but I look at the past and I look at what Trotz has done. It just never would happen. I've always thought that we needed to integrate people, even last year for Andy Green, and he really didn't get a lot of rest.
Nope. I mean, you're 100% right. Mikey's 100% right. That's what we need to do. But if you just look at Barry Trotz historically, it's not what he does, and that's my whole issue. It's not what he does. Yes, that's what needs to happen. I am a firm believer. I would let Dobson play bigger minutes last year. So come playoff time, he's ready to step in and be a leader. He didn't choose that. So now this year it has to, losing Letty has to happen. So you're seeing it, and now you're seeing the talent come out once again. I mean, the young guys are cheap. Then you can get a bigger piece. If your less expensive players are putting in big money or are putting in big minutes and giving you production, then you can backfill with some other talent instead of chasing older guys and giving them big deals. It's a mistake every time.
Mikey M said, totally agree with Tarasenko over Palmieri unless we had to give away Mayfield.
Yeah. To me, if you had to have money go back the other way, here's the thing. You could have made the trade.
Bailey and somebody else, maybe Bailey and maybe a Hickey or something like that, or Bailey, Hickey, maybe a few draft picks for Tarasenko.
Or here's the thing. You just could have made the trade for Tarasenko and just not re-sign Palmieri. You didn't need Palmieri. You only needed one. If you brought in Tarasenko, you were going to have to lose somebody else who had contract going the other way. So
you're saying even if
re-sign
we had to
Palmieri.
trade something away, we would have kept Josh Bailey. What would we have to given up then, Grump, if we would not have signed back Palmieri?
I heard it was just that St. Louis didn't want to pay any of the salary. So you don't sign Palmieri, you take the 7.5, and you just go for somebody else.
Okay, what else? Okay, what would
There are other, okay, I'm not going to go through what could have happened, but there were options. You're only talking about $2.5 million. That's all you're talking about. Maybe we didn't have to sign Parise.
$2.5 million over top of what Palmieri's contract is. I'm clarifying because you're not being very specific right now. I'm clarifying for the listeners.
That's right. $2.5 million over what Palmieri makes. Well, guess what? You didn't have to sign Zach Parise. Why? Because you had Kiefer Bellows who could have stepped in. There are other things that could have happened. You're only talking about $2.5 million. You could have made that happen. You could have moved Thomas Hickey somewhere else who makes what? $2.5 million. You could have moved somebody else, but they chose not to.
Alexander, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I agree, Grumpy. Alexander saying Corona with lime, my choice. Corona is like drinking pee,
Oh, wow.
Andrew L said, "Do you guys think Trotz resigns when his contract is up?"
I think he's happy here.
I do too. I think he's happy. I think his voice is heard. I think we're more than happy with the production we've seen. Barry's been a godsend. As much as we do give Barry, I think, right criticism when it's deserved, Barry's been a godsend here for us.
Here's the issue that could happen. That could make. Remember, Washington did not want him back even after winning the Stanley Cup. So there were issues there. If a new GM comes in and it's not Fredo, they might say, you know what? We want a little bit more of an exciting product out here. We're going to go in a different direction. We don't want to. Maybe whoever comes in says, we're not going to want a team filled with 30-year-olds. We're going to want to go with younger players. Maybe that could make Barry leave. Or maybe they just say, we don't want you back. We're going in a different direction, which is possible.
Yeah, I think they want to keep Barry happy. I think the organization loves to have Barry here too. So maybe he might have a say in who the next general manager is. Who are you compatible with? Who do you like? If we like what you've produced on the ice, let's say Lou Lamoriello retires, goes off in the sunset. The Islanders win a cup. He retires. I think
they're not winning a Stanley Cup on Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz. Not happening. Never freaking ever. You can never. Now Mikey Mal's probably going to say, but I'm telling you right now, we are never winning a Stanley Cup with this duo in charge. Not freaking happening.
William C. said if the Islanders win a cup, Grumpy has to get a Josh Bailey tattoo.
It'll be a henna tattoo.
Okay.
A
tattoo would be funny. Maybe get one on your arm, go like Josh Bailey, and give us a little muscle pose for us, Grump.
Yeah, maybe.
Drew S. said, TJ, thanks for clarifying your point about 17. Love the show. T-Gum, keep preaching, brother. Yeah, hey, I was wrong. I was wrong about Matt Martin. Hey, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Hey, I was wrong.
Sure. You're not perfect. That's for sure.
Look at you. Jer Ben says, hey, Grumpy, are you a friend of Bill? Couldn't even tell you what the hell that means.
Maybe Bill Belichick.
I don't know. You'll have to clarify, Jer.
They're calling friends of Bill. I'm a Brady guy all the way.
REC said, what up, Grump? Out of all the defensemen, minors, and prospects, Salo looks good on ice.
Yeah, he just won't be up with the big team this year.
No, I think if injury happens, he'll get his chance.
Okay. Then he won't be up with the big team this year. If you have to count on an injury, that's like saying, if we get 6 guys injured, everyone's going to play.
Hey, we've said it before in the past. Our physio team and our health management team has been fantastic for the Islanders. We can't always promise that we're going to be as healthy as we have been. We have been extremely fortunate. Knocking on wood as loud as humanly possible, knocking on wood regarding injuries. I mean, last year, Lee was the biggest loss we've had in injury. We had Adam Pellick 2 years ago, but he was back because of the truncated season there and then COVID bubble. So, it'll be interesting to see, hey, can we stay healthy as we have the last 2 years?
Yeah, I just don't think that Salo will even be the 7th defenseman. That's what I mean. He's going to be in Bridgeport. Now, injuries, you get a bunch of injuries, might force the case, but he's going to start off at Bridgeport, which is honestly where he should be to start the season.
And here's the thing. I think if let's say an injury happens midway through the season, the toll starts to take it on, some of the older players, they get a bump and bruise and they're going to miss, like, let's say they have a hamstring strain or they got a quad, they pull their quad or they pull their groin, they're going to be out like 2 or 3 weeks. I think what you would see happen is Robin Salo get moved up to the NHL roster and he would play. I think, like, even though he wouldn't be the 7th guy, let's say they had like an Aho out there. Maybe it's an Aho and Robin Salo split the time. Or let's say it's Gustafson, Gustafson and Salo split the time. I could see something like that happening.
Or do they try to go out to the trash bin and trade for some?
I think here's the thing. I think at the trade deadline, we will make moves to improve our defense. I think we will make moves to add a left-handed defenseman this year at the NHL trade deadline. No freaking way we don't, because that is, I think, going to be one of the weaker positions of our team, right? I mean, you're looking at Chara and Andy Green as your number, your second and third pairing left-handed defenseman. You're going to make moves in order to improve that position, no doubt in my mind.
Let's see if we give away more first-round draft picks.
I guarantee you we will give away a first-round draft pick. Look at the MO of the team.
Well, like I said, we haven't made, like I said, last year and the year before, we're not close to winning Stanley Cups. Stop giving away first-round draft picks. And I'll say it again this year. If we trade away a first-round draft pick this year, it'll be another mistake.
Depends on who we get.
Okay, we're not going to get anybody.
Let's say Vladimir Tarasenko is still an option. Let's say we have to pay a little bit more because he comes out and he's on fire, but St. Louis is out of the playoff picture for some odd reason or whatever the reason being. Let's say Tarasenko is still in the market there at the trade deadline.
That's not happening.
Okay,
it's not happening.
I'm just trying to throw what if.
Your team to trade for him was this offseason. You blew it. You blew it because you didn't have the balls to take a chance, or you wanted to play it cheap, or whatever the reason was. You got scared or whatever. To me, if you want to win a Stanley Cup, you got to shoot for the moon right away in the offseason. We never make any offseason moves. We always overpay at the trade deadline. So when teams have you over a barrel, that's when you overpay.
Yeah. Well, Mikey M is saying, I totally agree with Barzal scoring like 90 on another team, but he does actually have some edge to him. That's great about his team. And he's not one, there's not one player is a percent. A kitty cat and plays scared. Thanks, Barry. Thank you, Barry. Yeah, we've always said that too. In order to play for Barry Trotz, you have to subjugate your game. Hey, love it.
I'd take 100 Matt Barzals on my team because
he's feisty as hell too. He is feisty. I love the attitude. He plays with an edge. Sometimes he'll take a bad penalty and people based. Oh, I can't believe we did this. I can't believe that feistiness is the same exact drive that allows him to score. Sometimes, like he'll get, abused out there in a corner. He'll come out there and score, 2 goals and have 2 assists that night because he's got that feisty edge. Sometimes the feisty edge costs him. Some players play with an edge.
Here's the thing.
Be a Hall of Famer to play with an edge.
That's why you need a Ross Johnston out there. So Matt Barzal, teams take liberties with Matt Barzal. And sometimes he goes back at them and he draws a penalty. And who's the first one to tell you about it? Barry Trotz, how he's letting the team down. He could score 400 goals a year and he takes a bad penalty, and you're going to hear Barry Trotz talk shit about him. Which
I heard that about Leo Komarov after that 5-minute major for the 5-minute major there for the cross checking, and then
misses his guy to give up the winning goal.
And he also had, I thought, additional penalty too.
He was terrible.
Or slashing that night, but hey, we never heard about it. He's got a longer leash because he's the vet.
Yeah, see those type of things they just turn.
Happy thoughts though, Grump. We don't have anything like that right now. As they happen throughout the season, I'm sure we'll point them out. The Islanders sycophants and the Islanders cartel media will completely be quiet on the subject and say, "Oh, that was a great job by Lou calling out this because we can't have the best player on our ice doing X, Y, Z." Even though he'll hold different players to different standards.
If he held everybody to the same standard that he holds Barzal to, no problem. Is the fact that he singles out the younger guys for criticism and lets the old guys skate. That's my
okay.
Don't piss me off, Lou.
Man, it's happy. It's preseason right now, Grump. No need to channel your inner anger. Alexander also said, yes, I agree. Lou has turned this team around, but don't get me wrong. But I've been very critical of a lot of moves he has made, guys, Grumpy and TJ. I've been very critical, and it's very frustrating. Yeah. So again, he's done a lot for the team, but we're critical when need be. Cliff Neal there says, "I'd feel much more secure with our defense if they had signed a younger, more stable option on the second left-handed defensive position. Chara and Green sharing time as a third left-handed defenseman would have been fine. Then the lineup now seems to be asking way too much from both of those guys at this point in their careers." Couldn't agree more, Cliff.
Preaching to the choir, Cliff.
Absolutely. Mario said Lamoriello was telling Babcock how to coach a team and who to play. Lamoriello was also coming between Matthews and Babcock, which ruined the relationship between Matthews and Babcock.
Was Babcock there before Lou came in? I don't think Lou brought him in. That's what usually, and I don't know. But I believe that Babcock was there before Lou came in. I don't think that Lou signed it. Maybe he did, but I really don't remember. But that's why you see a lot of GMs, they come in, they move out the old coach. They want to bring in their own guy because maybe they're not compatible with the old guy or whatever, but they usually like to have their own choice in there. You don't want to be tied to a coach that you didn't hire. And I don't know if that was the case in Toronto or not. It's just too many years ago for me to know who Toronto hired when and every other thing. So,
well, yeah, if you give me a sec, Grumpy, I could pull it up. I was hoping you'd be able to stall a little bit longer. Yeah, so Babcock was there starting in 2015, 2016. So no, he was the general manager there starting in 2015. So I think he brought in Babcock.
Okay. Well, I guess he brought him in because of what success he had in Detroit. Sounds like what he did with the Islanders. Hey, you're coming off a Stanley Cup. You're the man.
So. Babcock was he's a hell. You talk about old school.
He is a good coach.
He's a hell of a coach, just like Barry Trotz is a hell of a coach. Lou Lamoriello, hey, certain things he does great. Certain things, we could pick on him for. We think he could do better on, but he can bring legitimacy to your team overnight. There's no doubt about that. William C. said, oh, never mind. Andrew L. saying, let's give Butchie the GM gig. Hey, he was the general manager the last time Zdeno Chara was here.
No, he was not. He was coach last time.
I'm sorry, coach. Forgive me, Grump. We're 3 hours in. You got to forgive a mental mistake like that. William C. said, as much as Letty sucked, I don't think besides Dobson, we have a good defender that could skate the puck up the ice.
Dobson's your best puck mover, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be Andy Green is next and Pulak. I mean, they are what they are.
About the drop off, though.
I don't like to see
Pellick. Go ahead.
I don't like to see Pellick as the puck carrier. It's not his strength. I don't like Mayfield doing it. It's not his strength. Sometimes they do it, but it's not the strength of their game. I don't like trying to ask players to do too much because it exposes them to mistakes.
Gotcha, Grumpy. And here's the thing. I think this is a good point, right? I've said it. I've always had issues with Nicoletti. I thought he was lazy, beyond lazy at times. That being said, we'll see how much we miss him quite early, right? This is the second year in a row we've lost a puck-moving defenseman. We lost Devon Taves 2 seasons ago last season, and this year now we're losing Nicoletti. It'll be interesting to see how much offense we're going to have from the defensive side of the puck, exiting our own zone there. What our defensemen can drive.
Losing Taves over Letty was a Lou and Barry screw up. Why?
It was a Lou screw up, not a Barry screw up.
No, it was a Barry screw up because Barry loved Letty. He said he was the best player by a country mile in the playoffs, with the exception
the second best player by a country mile behind Varlamov.
Right. So he was keeping him. Don't tell me you couldn't have gotten 1 second-round pick for Letty last year. Instead, you let a young puck-moving defenseman just coming into his prime go for 2 seconds.
Who was signed on a very, very friendly contract, too, if you remember that.
$4.1 million for the next 4 years. We couldn't have done that. You would have saved money by moving Letty and bringing him in. That's what I mean. They stick with, and that's that. Don't tell me that Lou didn't talk to Barry, said, who do you want? They don't like Taves because why? He doesn't play enough defense for them. He was the perfect partner for Scott Mayfield. Perfect.
Mario said Babcock was hired by Shanahan before Lamoriello became general manager. Okay.
So that could be, an issue too, so they maybe were a little combative.
Robert G said, "What's the negative with letting Salo play? It is clear that this youngster is far beyond his year and talents. Turn the dogs loose." I mean, hey, here's the thing: Robin Salo is an older defense. He's what is he, 23 years old? He's not a young, I wouldn't call him a super young defenseman. That's a guy who's entering the prime of his career. I mean, he's got a lot of experience. Yeah, Robin Salo is 22. He turns 23 here in 9 days. So this is a guy who's ready to take the next step up. He'll make mistakes in the regular season. He'll have issues. That's the reason why they don't want to play the younger guy. He'll have rookie mistakes, and he'll have those young issues, and they probably don't want to break him in if they've got the veteran options instead.
I have no problem playing him. I'd have no problem starting him, honestly. You learn on the fly. You learn what's expected. I think he would be a good partner with, not with Dobson. He'd have to be with Mayfield. Okay. But they're not going to do that. It's just not what they do.
Here's the thing. We can agree, though, right, that Robin Salo, 6 to 8 in an ideal world, Robin Salo 6 to 8 weeks there in Bridgeport, and then you slowly start saying, hey, you're the new seventh defenseman. You're now rotating in, and whatever, we're running a 3-man rotation at that left-handed defenseman spot between the second and third line left-handed defenseman. We're going to run the rotation, and by the end of the year, best players are playing. In the playoffs, obviously things might change a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't have a problem. I believe in playing the younger players. It saves you money in the long run. Playing the younger guys, let them develop. But it's just not what.
What's the negative for playing Robin Salo? Let's play the devil's advocate. What's the negative for playing? I think it's because they make rookie mistakes. They don't want those type of boneheaded mistakes being made. They didn't like when Noah Dobson would overhandle the puck and would lose it and force a turnover that would lead a goal the other way. That always drove Barry Trotz insane or nuts, which is why he would sit him for 8 or 10 minutes at a time last season.
Yeah, but here's the thing: the other guys do it too, and there's no penalty. See, that's the crux to the issue. I don't care if he makes mistakes. You learn from it, and you're better for it at the end of the year. But that's not how Barry thinks. He doesn't think like that.
Gotcha, Grumpy. Well, here we are, a little over 3 hours, Grumpy Old Man. Before we wrap today's podcast up, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. We have this podcast every single Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every single Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember also, we go live tomorrow on our General Sports podcast, which is in the link in the description below. It's called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. We go live 9 o'clock Thursday, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and Sunday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But before we wrap things up, Grumpy, what would you like to say here to the audience, to the listeners during this early preseason?
God, I just want to say, well, first of all, I think during the season, we're probably going to have our Saturdays after the games.
Yes. But again, we're still in preseason mode.
And that's actually good for TJ since he's late to almost every single podcast starting it. This way he doesn't have to cement himself into a time, which is probably a good thing. But I just want to say love and laughter to everyone who listened, and even those who didn't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
Well, thank you. We got two quick comments. Robert G said 40-year-olds make boneheaded mistakes and can't skate. And Sal P said, why even send them down for 6 weeks? Salo is talented and should play. As Grumpy always says, best players should play.
True. It's just not the way Barry operates.
But I do think having 6 weeks down there, because you want to make sure he's feeling confident, he's good to go. Remember, he's playing against, as we talked about in the preseason, these are not NHL starting rosters. So when you make those mistakes, sometimes, you can get away with a little bit more when you're playing against a weakened or a JV type of team, or against, NHLers. Those mistakes are going to be exposed. I think he does need a little bit of time to get acclimated to the shorter ice surface on the AHL and the AHL level. And again, I think that's, hey, as soon as he gets acclimated, 6 to 8 weeks, he should be up in the NHL, getting minutes in some capacity. But I've liked what I've seen. Is that going to happen? Probably not.
Okay, because that's the whole thing. It doesn't matter, regardless of what we think, I think is what we should do. I don't see that happening. It just goes against everything that everything that he feels about coaching and players it goes about everything that he does.
Goes against. That's correct, grumpy old man.
So,
But thank you again for being a part of the podcast, grumpy old man. Thank you everybody who listened to the live stream of the podcast. Grumpy old man and I love the interaction we have with this community and love the interaction we have with Islander fans. I mean, this is a family. This is the Islanders family for us. We love it being able to talk with you guys. This is going to be a huge season. We talked about our window. Hey, our window's open for 1 or 2 more years with the current roster we have until we're going to have to shake up, until we're going to have to majorly shake up items. So, this is the big year for us, hopefully we have a lot of luck and no real bad injuries. We're able to get, players continue to improve and, hey, we'll be along here all season long. So make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. Thank you again, grumpy old man. And thank you everybody who listened to the podcast.